What just happened? Hello everybody, I am pleased to announce that I exist. I decided to up the production value in all of my videos, so instead of just me staring at a black screen and talking, it's actually me portraying my emotions in the form of this little character. But I know that most of you first-time watchers probably wouldn't care about that, so let's just skip to what you came for. I'm going to talk about Minecraft. More specifically, Minecraft videos on YouTube. But to start off, we're going to have to go back to the beginning. Minecraft is a 2011 sandbox game developed by... Oh, come on. Do you actually think I'm going to explain to you the history of Minecraft? If you're watching this video, then you probably know what Minecraft is, so let's just skip the bullcrap. Let's start out by checking out early examples of Minecraft YouTubers. Firstly, let's check out the one I have the most childhood memories of. Yeah, remember this guy? Dan TDM was probably, if not, my favorite Minecraft YouTuber back when I was a kid. The whole formula was so simple and I loved it. He would introduce himself, go into the lab, usually open a chest containing all of the stuff in the mod, and then do. No sponsorships, no selling out, just a man doing what he loves. And this content is also what I used to love. I ate these up as a kid, and I can easily see why. Another YouTube series I used to like was Think's Lab. There was a similar concept, except now with minions from Despicable Me. The map building in this was phenomenal. All of the environments looked really well put together, and I just loved every mod that they had to offer. And while yes, modern Think Noodles content is, yeah, I still love to think about these videos and just reminisce about the old times when Minecraft content was simpler. This particular episode that you see on screen right now was my favorite. Reason being, it has arcades in it. Now, it's no secret, but I am an arcade fanatic. One of my favorite pastimes besides making YouTube videos is making arcade machines in Roblox. And I think this video right here sparked that interest inside of me all of those years ago. I even vaguely remember trying to attempt something similar in Minecraft. I obviously failed miserably because I was like 7 years old at the time, but still. This next example's the last one I'm going to bring up, because come on, if I brought up every nostalgic Minecraft YouTuber, we would be here for the next 3 hours. Think Sia was the last Minecraft YouTuber I vividly have memories of. They were another mod review YouTuber, and that's why I liked them. This stuff piqued my interest as a kid, and it was no wonder that I liked these three. Which is exactly why I got really excited when I found out that all three of them were doing a Minecraft Crazycraft Let's Play series together. Crazycraft itself being a bunch of mods compiled into one mod pack, I was addicted to these as a kid. Seeing the crazy pranks they'd pull on each other as a kid was probably the most fascinating thing for me. All three of the YouTubers I've mentioned didn't care about money. They only cared about the fans and the content that they were producing and made sure it was as high quality as possible. You probably know where this is headed. Kids grow up and markets evolve. And they're definitely not gonna have the same motivation that they had 7 years ago today. So, you might ask, who are the pioneers of the new Minecraft generation?
This is a Garden of Banban build battle, but I use cheats to win every time.
Okay, I get it. if you want to become relevant, you have to sell out. That's just how it works in Minecraft nowadays. However, I've noticed certain categories that these videos have. Firstly, we have what I like to call the acid trip videos. They usually start with something like a math question in the top left corner to encourage the younger viewers to comment in order to boost its algorithm, whatever. However, in the actual videos, you can barely make sense of what's going on. These usually have buzzwords like realistic Choo Choo Charles versus Thomas the Train Inventory Shop Minecraft all episodes animation. They also frequently use meme sound effects like, when is it ever a good idea to have so many meme sound effects in a row? Like, it's not even funny at this point. Another type of video that's popped up recently is the Minecraft but something videos. They're similar in vein to mod showcases, but instead of it just being one person showing off the mod itself, it's put in an adventure format. There's always a goal in mind. For example, some are just getting diamonds, while some others are beating the game. And while the videos before did have goals too, they weren't as generic. Each video had its own story, its own plot line, not simply just get to the Ender Dragon, it's do this extremely unique thing in each video. Hell, some videos even have coherent plot lines with an overarching story. Sometimes these videos do have original stories, however, there are very few, like, reoccurring characters, in which just doesn't give personality to a lot of them. And when there are original characters, it's just person does this, or person does that. Another form of this is in short form content. Generally, the goal in short form content is just to get diamonds, while the goal in the main videos is to beat the Ender Dragon. Usually they claim that if you like the video or subscribe, something happens, while that's obviously not the case as it's a YouTube short, of course. But of course, a 6-year-old probably wouldn't know that. And of course, with all the traffic from the likes and subscribes, it'll obviously become popular. Manipulating kids for social gain, one of the most classic ways to lose your dignity. But of course, not all modern Minecraft is necessarily bad. QSMP, I feel, has extreme potential. It has content creators with tens of millions of subscribers, it has lore, it has characters. It's even bilingual, which is something that no other Minecraft SMP has ever dared to do. And with the devotion that Quackity is putting into this, I feel like this will be a genuinely amazing project. However, most of the current popular Minecraft videos on YouTube are mainly targeted towards kid audiences. Now, the last type of bad Minecraft content I'm going to bring up today are the Monster School animations. Now, while Monster School used to be a fun little animation series about Minecraft monsters doing wacky things, now they're just... This is borderline Eltsagate. In fact, I'm 90% sure this is Eltsagate. These have so many violent themes that I am genuinely concerned that next generation is going to be mentally screwed in the head by the time that they've grown up because of all this crap they're consuming. Now, of course, the original Minecraft Monster School formula was Herobrine teaches a bunch of monsters how to do things, in which, for some of these, this doesn't even happen involving any of them until like 4/10 of the way through the video. And remember, everybody, teachers are the most important part of our lives because with them, we learn to read and write. We love our teachers. Well, that was an experience. This is usually the part of the video where I say, oh, it's not going to get better anytime soon. We're just going to all have our content evolve into where everything is made for 5-year-olds. But I actually don't feel that way. There can be actual good Minecraft content, as shown by QSMP. It's just the general quality of everything else besides those projects in which require tons of devotion is just gradually declining. Because for me, if you can find them, the projects with tons of effort put into them are actually very good watches. Hell, they may even overshadow the kids' content that you see. It's just that, in the eyes of a 7-year-old who doesn't know what to watch on their Saturday evening with their mom's iPad, needless to say, they're probably gonna get a different experience than we did. But with that being said, wait a minute, how do I end the
I love
video?
underline flopper.
What's poppin', XX Starism 43XX fam? Today we are reacting to US Presidents Play Minecraft number 16. Be sure to like and subscribe for more awesome content.
Obama, hop on Minecraft.
All right, I'm on.
Where is Joe at?
Probably sleeping.
Wow, this video is so cool. Be sure to like and subscribe. Does this look familiar to you? A person in a corner of a screen basing their entire content around reacting to other people's videos? Of course it does. I mean, I doubt if you didn't see one. What most of us haven't realized, though, is that this is borderline stealing, and I'm here to explain to you why. But first, I'm gonna watch the video behind me. It could turn out to be really good after all.
I actually stayed on the server all night last night to see if you guys would steal my new cake too.
By the way, only 5% of you guys are subscribed, so be sure to leave a subscription and a like on the video. Before we start, however, please don't harass anyone shown in this video. I'm just making these for goofs and laughs, and I don't really want anyone getting death threats for doing what they love. Even if some of them are basing their channel's content off of others, they're still making content. Now, you're probably writing in the comments, Starism, how dare you say that reaction videos are my favorite! I will not. And I know that's a completely normal and socially acceptable reaction. However, if you look at a reaction video at what it really is, it's really just a guy watching a video, pausing it, giving his 2 cents on the matter, and then resuming it. Wash, rinse, repeat 20 times, and boom, you made a couple $100. However, at times it can go a lot deeper than that. A lot deeper than that. We'll get to that later, however. For now, let's just go at what I consider the top of the barrel for reaction content. What I mean by that is that the editing is good, however, the only thing keeping their channel alive is making these videos. Also, I'd like to mention the titles of these videos. So, I watched this YouTuber, yeah, like the hundreds of millions of other people who likely have. After watching parts of the video, the editing was pretty good. Although they did probably pay someone to make it, it's still good editing, and I like that. What I don't like about these videos and other reaction videos in general is that for seconds at a time, they just have the video without a face cam just playing, in which that's just kinda lazy. However, in this case, the videos he's reacting to already have tens of millions of views, so they're not really taking away from profits that much. However, some YouTubers don't want 75% of their income going to some random YouTuber who decided to watch their video. Some YouTubers have decided to put in some rules in place. For example, the video may only take up 20% of the screen, you must always have credit to the original video uploader, and if you do not comply with any of these rules, we will content ID your video. No reaction video rules aren't as harsh as that, hopefully, but it's still a general idea of what you can expect. And I do agree with having some rules in place for reactors so that they don't basically steal your entire video. There are also bigger company YouTubers that make money off of this, and one of them, and probably the biggest one, is React. This channel was made back in 2007, back when the internet was still developing. Some of their most popular videos have like 50 million views, 40 million views, and more. I don't consider any of the stuff in here stealing per se, because they actually hire random people to do this. Alongside that, the editing was great for the time, it's friendly for all ages, and it's overall a pretty great channel. Now, those two examples were probably some of the best examples of reaction channels. There are other good reaction channels that follow the same format. However, now we're going to go into the bad ones. Bad in my opinion, at least. You can think whatever you want about them, it's just this is what I think is bad. This is what I consider to be the laziest form of reaction content, if you can even call it that. The kind that you know exist, know that are popular, it's all so garbage you can't bear to watch one, unless you're truly psychopathic. You all know it, you all hate it. Gotcha life. For the two people who don't know what Gotcha Life is, it's basically a game where you go ahead and go to a capsule machine to get random items for your character. Take the Roblox avatar creator and make it so that you can only do a couple of 2D games and pose your characters. Now, some people have decided to make reaction videos using these characters, with no voice acting, and only text. In fact, even text is lucky, since sometimes you don't even get that at all. And of course, it's only how the video creator thinks that the characters would react. And if there are any inconsistencies or brought back characters, screw it, it's an alternative universe now! Now, most of these videos start with a stock YouTube intro for their Gotcha Life reaction YouTube channel. Now, of course, it's what you'd expect out of a Gotcha Life reaction video. The characters sometimes change faces, there are sometimes texts at the bottom of the screen that say what the characters are thinking, you know, along with the Kindmaster logo at the top right corner of the screen. This really ticks me off because they're not even adding any other audio except the video that they're watching. What's worse, this Gotcha Life reaction garnered millions of views. Oh, but you think that's bad? Check this out. They basically stole an entire animation video, put a black vignette over it 50% of the time, and then just had the characters slightly change faces. I'm speeding up the video over 10 times, and let me tell you, they're not adding anything else. What's worse, they got 10,000 views in 10 days! I've only managed that once! You could argue that some of the stuff I've mentioned before wasn't stealing, but this obviously is. It's unoriginal, uninspired, and 90% of them are probably made by 10-year-olds. Not to mention that these videos get tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of views within days of being uploaded. I'd even dare to say that some people would prefer watching these Gotcha Life reactions over the actual video. Now, I'm sure that none of the people mentioned here are intentionally stealing these videos. However, they are stealing the views of the videos that they're reacting to. And at the end of the day, if these YouTubers don't want their videos reacted to, they can technically copyright take down these videos. Yes, it's partially immoral, but if they're basically stealing most of your views and having them make money instead of you, then yes, it would be justified. But does anyone actually care if they're stealing a video? Sometimes it's not all about money, it's just making a good video because you enjoy making videos. But I mean, come on, you can't just make this and call it your own, that's just cheating. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah.
Is your cake still there, Joe?
Yeah, but now that you guys...
Wow, that is so cool. By the way, I forgot to mention that only 10% of you guys are subscribed. If you could subscribe right now, that would be When you think of the hardest Roblox game, what comes to your mind? Is it the impossible Obby? Doors? Deep Woken? Color Run Race? For some, however, one game comes out on top as the hardest game on Roblox. But first, where's the light switch? It's like pitch dark in here. There we go, that's a lot better. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, it's Juke's Towers of Hell. Now, chances are, if you're in like most Roblox communities, you'll have probably heard of this game, known for its unforgiving difficulty. If you don't know how the game works, then let me give you a rundown. This is an Obby game where you have to ascend a tower one stage at a time to get to the top. Each of these towers has their own difficulty, green being easy, yellow being medium, red is difficult, dark red is challenging, black is intense, pink is remorseless, and then the soul crushings, which I'll talk about later. Now, of course, in most Obbies, you're given checkpoints so that if you fall or die, you can just start right back where you were. No. Unless you're given a safety net, if you fall, you go back to the beginning of the tower. Did I mention that some runs take hours of time? All that sounds like a hellish experience, doesn't it? Not for me, I beat the Plates of Fate hard Obby. I can beat anything now. Oh, how naive I was to say that. So, for my first tower, I decided not to do the tutorial tower and skip directly to the second difficulty. I'm not gonna go over every tower I played, because then this video would probably be like an hour long, so I'm just going to go talk about the significant ones. While we're here, I'm going to talk about sub-difficulties. You may have noticed that at the start of this segment, I said baseline medium. That's because not all the towers in one difficulty are created equal. They have their place on the difficulty chart, and some mediums are harder than other mediums. This medium in particular, however, is the easiest medium in the game. These sub-difficulties can range from baseline to peak, so you'll find out more about them as we go about the game. With that being said, let's move on to the next tower. Wait a minute, I still need to talk about sub-realms, don't I? Juke's Towers of Hell has multiple areas for the player to go to, each having their own set of towers, getting harder and harder as you descend or ascend, depending on your world. These are referred to as rings if you're in World 1, or zones if you're in World 2. World 1 is called the Great Inferno, World 2 is called the Spatial System. In some of these areas, you can find subrealms which usually contain steeples, which are shorter towers that give half of the credit that normal towers would. Alright, got that? Let's go to the next tower then. The main gimmick with this steeple is that there are 5 easy floors for you to go through, except at the end of the 5, you can attempt the challenge, which is peak challenging difficulty, except that it doesn't give you any reward for beating it. No tower points, no badge, no nothing. All you get's bragging rights. Now, I wanted to do it, except that it was way beyond my skill level. Plus, there was like no reward for getting past it, so I just decided to skip it. So remember the clip at the beginning of the video where I fell all the way down from the top of the tower right as I was about to get to the wind pad? Yeah, this was that tower. As my first hard, it took me like 50 minutes to get through it, 30 minutes on my first attempt which I failed, and another 20 on my second which I won. This was also my first tower in the spatial system, so there's that. This was my first difficult tower, or really a steeple, and I actually really liked it. It isn't really the ascending type either, it's mainly just getting through one floor at a time, which is really nice because there's no fear of losing any progress, or at least that much progress. The subrealm itself, Garden of EToH, is probably one of the best in the game too. It's the subrealm for Ring 2, so I definitely recommend checking it out if you're new. It's also really beginner friendly. Now, following me being steeple of federal foliage, I decided that it was time for me to already go to the next difficulty, challenging. This was probably one of my biggest mistakes in Juke's Towers of Hell. For context, this is still my hardest completion to this date. At least by the difficulty chart, I've beaten harder towers in my opinion. But what about the actual steeple? Well, it's basically separated into two halves. You have like the happy, flourishing, happiness place, and then you have a version of it in the future where it's all like toxic and corrupted, and you have to like do both versions in order to beat the steeple. If you're up to the skill level, this was really fun, except for me, it took over an hour and a half, so it was kind of torturous, especially since I failed the final stretch, aka do it flawlessly or restart. Now, by the looks of things, this game is pretty hard, right? We haven't even scratched the surface of this game's difficulty yet. So for just a moment, I'm going to show you how difficult this game truly can get. These top 4 difficulties are the soul-crushing difficulties. They aren't required for progression, however they're basically the final challenge, or challenges, of every area. From bottom to top, we have insane, extreme, terrifying, and catastrophic. Now, let's see what these catastrophic towers look like, shall we? This is Tower of Champions Road, a high catastrophic, having less than 600 winners. To even come close to beating this would make you one of the most skilled Roblox players of all time, and this isn't even the hardest one in the game. This is Tower of Cruel Punishment, a peak catastrophic with only around 200 victors out of everyone who played the game. It is without a doubt, this is the hardest catastrophic in the game. What do you mean hardest catastrophic? Isn't it the hardest tower in general? I mean, there's no difficulty above catastrophic, right? This is the Pit of Misery with 2 brand new difficulties, Horrific and Unreal, with Unreal only having 2 legitimate victors in all of its towers. Introducing Tower of the Roof's Peak, a horrific difficulty, half a point higher than Tower of Cruel Punishment. There's not even any badges for these, so I can't really track the winner count, but to beat this, I don't even have any words. What's even crazier is that this is only mid-horrific. And now for the grand question. What is the hardest verified tower in Juke's Towers of Hell? This is Citadel of Infinite Void. For comparison, Tower of the Roof's Peak only takes around 8 minutes to complete. This is a 50-minute odyssey. This has only 2 legitimate victors, both of which are legends in the community. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, me sucking at the game. This is where it all began. And I don't mean that in a first completion sense, I mean that this was the first ever tower added to the game. This was also when this was the only tower in the game, and when the game was actually supposed to be a rage game, meaning invisible parts, super tricky jumps, etc. You get the deal. It's super short, and it took me like a while to beat. I don't really like this tower too, so yeah, let's just move on to the next one. This steeple is actually really fun. It has 4 main floors in which you need to do certain things in them in order to press the button that lies at the end of the floor in order to progress. These 4 floors can be done in any order, however, the 5th floor can only be accessed once you've done all of them. It took me over 50 minutes to beat this steeple, which is very long for a difficult steeple. But all in all, I liked what this tower had going for it, so I recommend playing it. This was the first difficult tower I beat that was actually a tower. The only reason I decided to do this one was because I needed to do it in order to unlock the arcane area, one of the subrealms. The gimmick with this tower is that you need to collect all 10 crystals, one per floor, but if you don't, you can't beat the tower and you have to restart. Sorry. It was for this reason that this tower took me 90 minutes to complete. Half of the time on a run where I forgot a crystal and had to restart. In terms of the actual tower, the decoration looks nice, but I didn't really like the gameplay. Plus, Arcane Area isn't really a good subrealm to begin with, so I guess if you just want to unlock it for the sake of unlocking it, just go for it, I guess. This tower was decent. Not really anything noteworthy about it, but it took me like 40 minutes to complete and I did fall a couple times, but nothing was really that interesting about it. I did fall on one of the final jumps of floor 10 all the way down to the bottom, which was really fun when I played it. Now, this steeple is in one of the worst subrealms in the game. I myself didn't really like the tower too much, honestly. It was like a decent, not too good steeple, I guess. It took me around 20 minutes to complete, which is actually pretty fine compared to the other towers I've beaten, but we'll get to that in a second. This tower haunts my nightmares. Now, I had to get a challenging tower done in order to access Ring 5, which either needed for me to do a super hard steeple or this. Now, since this was bottom challenging, I decided that it would probably be pretty easy since I already got Steeple of Flourishing Wastelands done. I was so wrong. This tower is super punishing, especially on the later floors. Most of floor 9 is an outside section, which means if you fall, you go all the way back to the beginning, and there is no saving yourself. It took me over 2 hours and a half to beat this tower. I hate it. It doesn't help that this was an early tower, which meant that it had all of the problems that those old towers have. Now, there's only one tower I have left. But first, I only discussed earlier steeples and towers. However, there's a third type of tower. One that I briefly talked about before, but it's time to go into full detail on them. Citadels are special types of towers that range from 11 to 25 floors. In most cases, if you are not skilled enough to do it flawlessly, this will take you multiple hours to complete. You can usually find at least one citadel per area. Citadels are difficult at least, and only very experienced players can do them. Not to mention that you can't use boost items on these either. Now, what does this have to do with this video? Well... welcome to Citadel of Inside Situations, the final tower I am featuring in this video. This citadel has 14 floors, however, it's in a very interesting manner. There is no falling down to previous floors in this tower. You get at least one safety net per floor, if not multiple. The only catch is that there are tons of kill bricks. And while kill bricks can't instantly kill you, at least not in this citadel, letting your health drop to 0 means you have to restart the entire thing. A perfect run with almost no stopping takes over 20 minutes. A player with not so good skill level, probably playing this for the first time, would likely take over an hour on this tower. There are also a variety of gimmicks used. For example, this floor is super slippery. This floor ramps up kill brick usage by an exponential amount. This floor has no jump sections. Oh yeah, and also this fake out restart on like the second to last floor of the tower. However, despite the odds, despite everything, I beat the Citadel. And that is my journey through EToH. At least for now. While the video ends here, my journey in EToH is not yet over. I have new areas to explore along with the events of Halloween and Christmas coming soon. If I ever make a new video on this game, it would likely be after I at least beat either an insane or a remorseless tower. The journey was long and hard. I experienced many fails, spent many hours on the game, and overall suffered quite a lot. However, in my journey through the game, I learned a lot. And while this may not be the absolute hardest Obby game on Roblox in terms of difficulty, it's definitely the most expansive. Who knows if someday one person will 100% the game, including the horrifics and unreals. As for me, however, my ultimate goal of one day beating a soul-crushing tower will eventually be reached. But for now, I just have to keep practicing for that day that I will progress the difficulties and beat an insane tower. With all that being said, thanks for watching. Color Run Race is still harder. Finally got another video done. Thank God I don't have to make another video on this for a few minutes. Oh, someone's at the door? I didn't even know that there was a door in this blue void. Come on in! Holy shit! So are you just gonna stand there, or...? Yeah, I'm not gonna question that. So, a bit ago, I made a video covering Juke's Towers of Hell. This is a sequel to that video, so if you haven't watched the first one, I highly recommend checking that out first. Assuming you already know the basics of the game, I'm going to go over the basics of this video. I've progressed a lot since that first video, which is why I will only be covering towers that I've completed that are difficult or higher. No more of that low-level Tower of Madness crap. So, without further ado, let the torment commence. This was decent. Not the best, not the worst, really. This is a descending tower, meaning you go downwards, meaning there's basically a net every floor, except there are a bunch of kill bricks now. Floor 5 was a bit tricky with some of the jumps and the kill brick net, but overall, it was fine with it. I took around 30 minutes on the tower. Floor 6 was trying to be hectic with its turrets, but overall you could have just hid behind a surface and it wouldn't have been too hard. It's not the most memorable tower, so I can't really give that much feedback on it, but I, kinda liked it. I hate this tower. I can't really give an opinion if the tower is good or not, because I would definitely say it sucks because of how long I took on it. It took me 80 minutes to beat this difficult tower, and I fell on one of the last jumps. Not to mention that there are multiple GBJs, which mean if you fall, you cannot escape and you have to restart. I would genuinely rather browse r/anime memes for an hour than play this tower. Do not play this if you are new to the game. I am warning you. This is a monthly tower, meaning you don't get any tower points from it, and you only have 1 month to complete it before it disappears and goes into whatever time lost zone it goes to. This is also a descending tower, with lots of gimmicks. And by a lot, I mean it introduces a new gimmick almost every single floor. What I do like about this tower is how it has animations with rigs to show you what to do. That's a nice little touch in which I wish more towers had. But overall, this was actually a really fun tower to go through, and I liked it. This steeple is actually a sequel to another steeple that I did last video called Steeple of Sunny Island Shenanigans. It follows the same general format. You have a few challenges you can take on in any order and then go straight into the finale. I have to say, I like this steeple a lot more than its predecessor. Everything just feels more polished, and it didn't make me suffer as much as the last one. Not to mention it resides in one of, if not the best subrealm in the game, Silent Abyss. Overall, if you manage to get there, I highly recommend checking this one out. It's one of the easiest in the subrealm, and it's a good play. I do not like this steeple. The decoration is repetitive, the gameplay is bad, what else is there to say? I failed on the second to last jump and fell back to floor 1. Not to mention the random beat block they throw at you after not having one for almost 2 floors. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't like this one. While I still didn't like this one either, I felt like it was better than Steeple of Crystal Ascension at least. The electric floor, however, was extremely annoying to complete due to it being almost impossible to sight read. That floor alone probably took up 60 to 70% of my playtime for that tower, and I'm not kidding. So unless you're really good at sight reading stuff and dealing with speed or jump changes, then I suggest not playing this until you're a bit more skilled at the game. Words cannot describe the amount of anger I have experienced at this singular steeple. The amount of times I have fallen to floor 1 and gotten stuck there for 10 minutes was probably not that many times, but it was still a few. What's even worse is that 80 minutes in, the tower decided to soft lock itself and make me restart. That, along with unfair gameplay and inconsistent platforms, make this my least favorite steeple in the entire game. Maybe even my least favorite tower in general. Unless you are hell-bent on getting that magic crystal, do not play this steeple. I'm warning you. It's the Halloween season, you know what that means. Generally, around every year on Halloween and Christmas, there is an event. 3 steeples followed up by 1 boss fight. This Halloween, we have Steeple of Ghostly Mischief, an easy, Steeple of Dungeon Crawling, which is a hard, and Steeple of Moonlit Heresy, which is an intense... Wait a minute. You're telling me that to beat this event, I have to beat an intense tower after only beating 2 challengings in the past?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
How did you even get here? This was certainly a steeple that existed. Everyone I've seen playing it either loved this steeple or hated it. And after playing it myself, I can definitely see why. This is a very punishing steeple. What I mean by that is that 90% of the time, one missed jump and you fall all the way down. This tower also has tons of client objects, meaning basically anything can happen. The good news is that the hardest sections of the tower are netted, so that's a plus at least. Overall, in my opinion, this is actually a really good steeple, although it might not be for everybody. Yes, this one did take me a long time, but it didn't make me completely infuriated over it having bad gameplay, because the gameplay wasn't bad. There's just a learning curve to get used to. If you're easily able to sight read and to learn mechanics, then yeah, this is for you. But with that out of the way, that was my first intense. I'm not gonna talk about the other steeples because, you know, they're not difficult or harder. But yeah, let's move on to the next thing then. It's time for me to finally take care of this pest. You get a wand at the start of the fight. This is basically your main way of damaging everything. You can only hit Eclipse on his head, however you can also hit his minions too. Phase 1 isn't too difficult, all you gotta do is just dodge for a bit and he doesn't have too much health. Phase 2 on the other hand is a bit more tricky than that. Instead of directly attacking Eclipse, he spawns 4 generators that you have to take out in order to damage him. While Eclipse does have very low HP, 99% of this phase is just taking out the generators. They fight back with their own attacks though. The trick is to not get overwhelmed. If you get overwhelmed, you die. Most minions won't do too much harm as their attacks are easy to avoid, but you have to take out the mini Eclipses as they do not despawn. Alright, so I did the 2 acts and I won the show. I win the event, right?
No.
Welcome to Phase 3, the phase I actually died on the first time I tried it. This is mainly just a much harder version of Phase 1, with around 3 times the health, harder attacks, you get the drill. While it is really easy to get overwhelmed here, yeah, it's just the same attack patterns again. The only catch is that, yeah, they're much harder, obviously. My trick is to just run in circles and keep firing at Eclipse, I guess. Alright, I've defeated you. You're going to leave now, right?
So yeah, about that, my boss is definitely gonna kill me if he sees that I lost against you, so is it okay if I can just stay here and hide for a bit?
Oh, don't worry, I'll do the work for him.
Thank you very much. Wait, what?
Good riddance, jack-o'-lantern head. With him gone, I think that's a good place to end it off for now. EToH isn't a game about winning. It's about failing and getting back up again. With enough perseverance and with enough time, you will conquer your challenges. Look at me, the last video I did on this only had me beat 2 challengings, now I've beaten an intense. Maybe next video I'll be able to get up to a remorseless. But that probably won't be for a while, at least until the Christmas event comes out. Overall, I'm happy I took this up. It was an experience for me, something that actually gave me a feeling of triumph. Not many of the other games I've played do that. Although, throughout all of this, I've realized something. What started out as me just trying to test my skills has turned into me playing EToH hours a day. Have I really become a EToH player? I'm bored. Let's see what else I can try. What the hell? Oh god, they've taken over. Surely it can't be that bad to the point in which I gotta make a video on it, right? I'm in for a wild ride, aren't I? Now, if you looked at the thumbnail, which I'm almost certain you did, you're 100% expecting a lot of—
Now what the hell is this?
And you would be right. I mean, hell, if LankyBox is making videos on it, the entire series is in the domain of children at this point.
Today we're reacting to the brand new Amazing Digital Circus Friday Night Funkin' music video.
But it goes a lot deeper than that. And later in this video, we'll talk about one of the weirdest game developers I've ever seen. For now, however, let's get into our first game. As I expected, this is just a lazy simulator running game with no reference to Digital Circus whatsoever. But hey, since you already have the attention of the toddlers, you might as well make the monetization extremely rampant. And hey, why not make the game insanely pay to win too? Now, what's interesting is that the day after I played this game, they changed the icon. This is a common tactic a lot of Roblox games use. Why risk one thumbnail not being attractive enough when you can have 15 and see what sticks? The problem with that is that it doesn't give your game enough identity. You want to look at a thumbnail and say, this is Runstar. Attaching a popular character to your thumbnail isn't going to make your game stand out, it's just going to make it blend in with all of the other ones. Now, before we move on to the next trend I've seen, we're going to look at one more game with a popular character in their thumbnail. Obby But Your Rope is exactly what you would expect. Extremely bland visuals, clickbait arrows trying to guide you like you're a toddler, which is probably the demographic of this game. Lazy scripting, misalignments. There's also, like, no music whatsoever. They could have put in, like, I don't know, a Skibbity Toilet song over it, and they didn't. It's just completely silent, the entire thing. In fact, the only mention of Skibbity Toilet is in the shop, in which it probably just turns you into a UGC abomination. So by now you can probably guess how these games work. It's just stolen ideas with a popular character slapped on them to get the toddlers to play. There's either no representation of the characters in the thumbnail or extremely little. Now that we've went through that, I'd like to talk about a different kind of trend I've seen on Roblox. One that doesn't necessarily attach a popular character to it, but it still exists regardless. These. Games with nearly the same thumbnail with the same type of style, but were made by completely different studios. At least that's what I thought on face value. The two studios who made these games were Picture Perfect and Wait a minute. These two groups are owned by the same guy! Not only that, but both of these groups have the exact same icon. What the hell is going on? After checking this guy's groups, I realized this guy owned tons of them. All of their groups also had the same 3 assistant members. These are probably just this guy's friends trying to work out how much they can exploit toddlers. Now, the interesting thing is that this guy had a Discord server. Now, what I found in said Discord server was quite interesting. This guy uses one server for everything. I mean, yeah, I'd understand why you'd want to do that. I mean, you drop the facade for people who aren't extremely young. Plus, it's leagues easier to manage one server instead of 3. The games that I've seen that they've made were the first 2 teamwork games they've mentioned and some weird AI-generated thumbnail roleplay game. I'm not gonna check out that one, but I will check out the other 2. The Discord server in question was pretty basic. It just had channels for all the games, nothing too interesting that I could find in it. They did have a Find a Teammate channel, which was completely empty. Now, let's start out with the former of these 2 games. As you would expect, this is just another team up with someone, get through the game together, yada yada yada. Nothing we hadn't seen before, it's just another game trying to capitalize off it. Of course, there was monetization everywhere, and it had a premium payout farm place. Had a premium room egg that for some reason didn't work. This is just a pretty generic game, all in all, really. However, I lied to you. Because I used footage from both games for that segment. That's right, these games use the same framework for both of them. I've seen game developers copy off others for profit. But to copy off yourself and make the exact same game except you can just carry people? This guy is on a whole nother level. And it's working. This guy has millions of group members. If this is what the future of Roblox looks like, I am not looking forward to it. The last awful trend I'll take a look at today are the ones based off of Barry's Prison Run. The original game in question being a first-person obby with really subpar horror elements. The first of 2 we're going to look at today is... well, this game certainly is something. You know it's good when you're being advertised a bootleg skibbity toilet right out the gate. Yeah, you're being bombarded with frequent pop-ups asking to buy things, but still, this is not a very good game either way. Also, why is the game trying to copy Garten of Banban of all things? Another thing, oh my god, why is this door not tweened? I hate this. With a pop-up every time you die, yeah, it's a pretty generic obby game. Not really that much else to say, so let's just move on to our final thing. Welcome to Borio's Prison Breakout. The first-person game that tries to sell you morphs every 2 seconds. I mean, at least this time there aren't pop-ups appearing every death that try and get you to buy something. I too love having a Ballon sword in obbies. But with all that being said, this whole thing, it just proves my point. These soulless cash grabs are overshadowing games that actually have time and effort put into them. It's becoming more and more apparent that the only way to break a profit on Roblox is to lose all of your dignity. But there are still games that do it right. There are still experiences you can play to have a fun time. So after all of that, are trends really ruining Roblox? I don't really think so. I mean, it has the potential to if tons of people do it, but right now, it's just harmless. We're not the demographic for these games. Developers can choose what they want to do, and if they want to appeal to toddlers, they can appeal to toddlers. These concepts can be executed in the right way. It's just up to the people who actually want things to be their passion projects to actually work on it. Are the games we talked about today bad? Yes, of course they're bad. By our standard. To the standards of 6-year-olds, they're perfect. We look at everything from our childhood as good, and in a few years, people will look back on these games fondly. We weren't immune to this either. The torch is just being passed down. But on that note, I think that's a good place to end things off for today. With that being said, I'll see you all next.
My favorite game is Obby, but your skibbity Starism prison grow teamwork Obby too! Yeah!
Let's rewind a bit. Welcome back to 2017, where you're playing your favorite Tycoon game, Clone Tycoon 2. Maybe you're playing with a friend, or maybe you're alone, but either way, you're having a grand old time. All of the different upgrades for your base, all of the different clone upgrades you can get, it was all just way too cool. Of course, there were also other games you played, like Pizza Factory Tycoon or Miner's Haven. A neat thing to do to pass the time, not requiring that much work, just do it. Some miscellaneous Tycoons you've played only take 30 minutes to an hour to complete, but still, you had a good time with all of them. Now, flash forward to today, where I ask you, what the hell is this? Hello, I'm Starism, and since you clicked on this video, you probably remember playing Tycoons back in the day. While they still exist on Roblox today, they are nowhere near as popular as they once were. Today I'll talk about the rise of Tycoons back in 2016, and how they were eventually replaced with simulators in present day. By the way, this is also going to be a pretty fast-paced video. I'm probably going to only spend around a minute on each game, so if you can't pick up with that, I don't know, just click off, I guess. Now, enough banter. Let's get into the classics. Welcome to McDonald's Tycoon, or McRonald's Tycoon as we call it nowadays. From what I can assume, the original two got taken down because of copyright concerns, but I mean hey, we still have this. Popularized in 2016 by a certain blue-haired someone, this is one of the more basic Tycoons, which I'll go over now. You start off by claiming a base, usually by touching a part. Then you go over to a red pad and start working by getting a free dropper. Droppers usually drop blocks, which then go into the furnace. Every time a block goes into the furnace, you earn some money, generally at the money station. This money usually isn't in your balance until you claim it at the money station. In some cases, users can steal from other players at their money stations, so be careful. You can buy more droppers and upgraders, which upgrade the block's value. Over time, you'll be able to do things like upgrade your base or get weapons, but we'll talk about all that later. For now, that's the gist of this game. This is Clone Tycoon 2. Instead of blocks going into a furnace, you summon clones of yourself in order to kill other clones to make money. I myself remember playing this a lot as a kid, and the fact that there were so many customization options just shocked my feeble mind. Of course, when playing this nowadays, my clones got completely obliterated by the other ones, but still, it was fun at the time. Not to mention that the game still gets updates to this day, even after being up for years. And then we have what, in my opinion, is the best Tycoon game ever. Welcome to Miner's Haven, a fully customizable Tycoon with hundreds of items. Of course, I'm just using Game Pass items in the footage, I'm just on a different save file right now, but still. There is so much to do in this game, so many items you can collect, so many quests you can go on, not to mention that it's about to get a massive update in the coming months. If you're interested in these kinds of games, I highly recommend at least checking out Miner's Haven. It's a nice blend of old and new Tycoon mechanics. Now, there's one more legacy-style game I'd like to talk about before we move on. This is Superhero Tycoon, a game created in the old era of Tycoon games, but still updated frequently to this day. If you want a modern Tycoon with legacy mechanics, this is your best bet. Not only are there lots of particles for some things, which I like, there are also weapons that you get almost right out the gate. I've also seen some people literally fly around with rocket boots, which is super cool in my opinion. This isn't a promotion or anything, but check it out if you wanna, I guess. However, around 2018 to 2019, something changed. A new type of farming game was introduced. Enter simulators. These simulators, in some cases, are much more innovative than the classic Tycoon format. Yardwork Simulator, the one I'm playing now, was made back in 2018. Here we see the simulator format we all know and love. Do a thing, get currency, upgrade your thing, and then buy pets. This was obviously much more monetizable than Tycoons, which just had random upgraders that you could purchase. And over time, there started to be less and less Tycoons pop up. However, Tycoons do still exist, which is what we're going to talk about right now. This is Mall Tycoon, created by the same person who made the Break-In series. I also used to play this game a lot as a kid. You got to choose everything that happened. What buildings you would get, what upgrades you would get, obviously. But it all just felt so polished, alongside having your friends actually roam around the mall. I recommend this one. It's a fun and polished experience, and it's pretty fulfilling once you get far in it. However, unfortunately, that's kinda where the good stuff stops. Don't get me wrong, there are probably tons of other good Tycoons out there. It's just what we're going to talk about now, yeah, they aren't as, let's say, good. Welcome to, I don't even know what to call this, the story-driven Tycoon, I guess? They're the games that you see with probably a noob face on them, and have some kind of title like, Prove Mom Wrong by Becoming President Tycoon. The problem is that all of these games basically follow the exact same format. And while yes, that was the case for some other Tycoons, it just feels even duller now with modern Roblox games. Gone are the days of building up your base, just sit around and do nothing while the developer gets premium payouts. These games also don't really take themselves too seriously. They're not bad per se, I'd just say they're kinda bland. The next game we're gonna look at, however, I already talked about how trends might be ruining Roblox in my last video. By the way, I might be a little biased with this statement, but I highly recommend you watch that one. This is just a basic Tycoon, except instead of blocks, you drop PNGs of amazing digital circus characters. Except now, the game has the horrors of modern monetization. I mean, hey, it'd probably be easy just to go ahead and copy and paste the same game, but with skibbity toy.
Starism.
Welcome to the exact same game, now with skibbity toilets! Yeah, this studio has definitely done this before. I'd be lying if I'd say I wasn't expecting this, but at the same time, it just sucks. Genuinely. Now, because I want to end the video on a high note, I want to end off with something that I think actually seems pretty decent. This is Custom PC Tycoon, where you can choose your own parts for a computer, paint it, do whatever you want with it, and then sell it. It's not the greatest Tycoon in the world, but it still just goes to show that newer Tycoon games can still be a relatively good time. Obviously, I don't know if it really holds up because I hadn't played it for that long, but still, I just assume it's good. However, don't let my opinion drive you away from playing. If you want to play it, then play it. I'm not gonna stop you. However, with that, I think we've looked at enough for today. Tycoons in recent times have been completely overshadowed by simulator games. While I'm not saying that the older Tycoons hold up to the games compared to today, they were definitely not as predatory with the monetization as nowadays. There's still hope for Tycoon games, however. There are still some good ones out there. Even if they're not as popular as they were back then, they're still around. They're not completely dead. And I think that's a good place to end on. So until next time, I'll see you all. Today we are reacting to Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Starism. Around a year ago, I made a video that looked like this.
These songs are so lit!
No, they're not. F you. Yeah, there's a reason some of my old videos are private now. The point made was that YouTube had a lot of Roblox Brainrot content. And in my opinion,
Get ready for an amazing digital circus for Skibbity Toilet Battle and Roblox.
while there are some good YouTubers that cover Roblox content, there are some that just aren't really that good. They put AdSense over the actual quality of their content, and it shows. Which is why I'm going to take a look at a few YouTubers that do this. Starting with the guys I mentioned 20 seconds ago, LankyBox. Somehow managing to pump out 4 videos a day with at least one being over an hour long. They are the zenith of kids Brainrot at 32 million subscribers and over 10,000 videos. With that being said though, what is one of these channels' videos like? How these long-form videos are made are generally just compilations of other videos they've made, with obviously the alluring sound effects and like the giant bar at the bottom containing everything that they need to get kids engaged still. Also, why is there a Pibby glitch morph in the game that they're playing? I thought that died out years ago. Either it's that or it's an incredibly basic gameplay video with no substance. But I mean, hey, it works! They got their own ghost kitchen, therefore they're probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of it. I've mentioned YouTube Shorts before and I'm gonna mention it again. This is a cesspool for extremely low effort videos to happen. You will get absolutely nothing out of this by watching it. Not to mention you don't have to even click on it to watch it, you just get it. I'm not gonna linger on it too long though, so let's just go ahead and get to the next one. There are also the, quote, free Robux live streams, featuring the 9 people who actually think they're going to get money. Dude's been streaming since like November. They obviously have a pre-recorded thing that they just loop around that also encourages kids to click the link, fill out surveys, whatever, you already know how a Robux scam works. Story videos are just the exact same thing every single time. Poor bacon girl or boy gets Robux from a friend or family member. Then they change outfits. Then they get invited to a random group chat while playing a game. Guess what? It's time for a name, face, and age reveal. Yay! All of it is just slop, like, you're watching the exact same thing for hours on end. The only people who would enjoy this are 9-year-olds who would squeal at the thought of this. And then we have drama and news channels. Take Parlo, for example, whose entire gimmick is talking about the weekly creep, and argued with a 15-year-old who made a video on him. While it's debatable if you're right in some of these videos, unless you're directly involved, you shouldn't be trying to profit off of all of these situations. News channels, on the other hand, are different. Instead of just saying weekly news for Roblox, they make news into compilations that they post. You click for example, you can't play Roblox right now, and what do you get instead? An 8-minute long video containing 6 different topics, with the one that you clicked on being around 3rd. Why, you might ask? Well, you gotta hit the 8-minute mark. At that point, wouldn't you just lose audience retention since all of your audience is just skipping to the thing that they clicked for? You still get ads at the beginning and end of a video regardless if it's 8 minutes or not. So at that point, wouldn't it just be better to make 5 videos a day, each being 2-minute clips? You'd probably earn a lot more engagement off of that. I've seen other channels follow this kind of format too, and it's starting to get a bit annoying, not gonna lie. I mean, yeah, you gotta pay the bills, but I mean, still. While researching for this video, I found this awful thing. It's mainly just like this exact same dance thing, I guess. To me, it just feels like TikTok creators migrating over to YouTube. Most of these types of videos I've only seen on YouTube Shorts anyways. My question is how this managed to get 13 million views! Oh wait, I know. Probably because this singular video managed to summon every Roblox 10-year-old out there.
Did you guys ever get to 20k likes? No, but we're almost there!
Brookhaven's stories are just not very good. While they don't always have annoying voices, the stories are always way too over the top. I love showing kids abuse stories! This particular video, and I assume channel, has like very, very annoying voices that make you want to stab your ears out after like 5 seconds. Whew, almost 6 minutes in, just got a few more, let's do this. If blank owned Roblox is a trend that I've seen slowly but surely dying out, but I still wanted to talk about. It's all the same thing. You log into Roblox, then suddenly someone becomes the new owner. Then they do something to basically every Roblox game, then sometimes forces you to change avatar or something, or gives you unlimited Robux, or makes items 1 Robux, or anything else. Tons of people are doing this, and I'm glad it's started to die out. Hi, Starism and editing here. I filmed this ending for the video at like 11 PM on a school night, so don't expect things to make much sense. Okay, bye. Okay, finally done. I'm Wincaster, the Royal Scientist! Look on the YouTube trending page, you will find very, very interesting things there. Bye! Anything goes on this channel, huh? Here we have grown-ass adults trying to be relatable to children by making TikTok skits of existing Roblox games. I could go on and on about this, however I already did a YouTube Shorts video, so I'm not going to. Just imagine everything I just talked about except sped to a 60-second video and made vertical. I'm done, okay? Yeah, there's good Roblox content, I just didn't mention it here today. But the fact that I had to sit through all of those videos just goes to show how this will probably overrun the good content in the future. Yes, I probably said that a billion times already, but that's just going to be how it is. I'm sorry. In all seriousness though, thank you for watching. I know this video was probably a bit fast-paced, but there was just so much stuff that I just need to get it all out of the way in like 30-second bursts. So with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, guys! Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more funny videos in the future. No, screw off! Wait, I have to beat a remorseless? Eclipse, you son of a bitch. Hi, I'm Starism, and welcome to my suffering. I'm going to go into this video assuming that you watched the last two, so you're probably going to be very confused if you haven't. Now, if I want to get to the Citadel, I'm gonna have to beat a few towers first, so stay with me. Why? For plot reasons, of course. Anyways, that intro was long enough, so let's just get right into it. Starting out directly with my second intense, it's Steeple of Wicked Grotto. At first, this steeple was really hard for me, especially at the first floor. However, it's really learny, so eventually, over time, I managed to get the hang of things. What I found was that it was a very forgiving steeple, which I really like. Every floor had at least one safety net, which made it perfect for my playstyle. It helped amp up my skills, and the decoration was really nice. Give this a try when you can, as Silent Abyss in general is really good. I hate this, I hate this, I hate. There was only one tower, one single steeple away from me claiming a full heal crystal. Steeple of Magical Collaborations, the longest and hardest steeple in Arcane area. And much like almost literally everything else in Arcane area, I hated it. They just throw outsides at you literally every floor, put entirely new mechanics over said outsides, a no-jump floor. I mean, like, it wasn't all bad. I did like some of the puzzles, but like, the cons definitely outweighed the pros. However, since I completed it, I was finally able to claim the Rainbow This is an interesting steeple. At the start of the steeple, you have to collect 3 different items, but apparently this doesn't count as floor 1? Once you do collect the 3 items, you can actually go in the tower. Or more specifically, the individual floors. It was fine enough, nothing too memorable, but at the same time it was quite forgiving, which I like. Nothing much else to say, so let's just move on to the next. Oh no, we are not doing this again! Last time I opened the door, a crazed jack-in-the-box tried to kill me. Do not come in! Why do I even bother?
Complete my Christmas challenges! Beat 3 challenges to win!
Okay, but are you gonna try and kill me in the process?
No, we did not have time for a boss battle, so I'm just going to stay where I am the entire time. Bye!
Challenge number 1, light up 3 spotlight. Oh wait, I already did it. Challenge number 2. This was certainly an intense event, Steeple. Thankfully, this one was a lot more forgiving than Steeple of Moonlit Heresy. However, this one does have some mechanics I am not a big fan of. There's this mechanic where, like, on a thick swing, you have to spam jump as fast as possible without holding the button down. This is used frequently throughout the tower, and I'm just like, why? I like the overall theming and decoration of the tower, but, like, it was just decent. Not the greatest thing I've ever played, but still a pretty enjoyable time. Only took me 84 minutes to complete, too, which was much better than Moonlit Heresy. Probably because my skills have grown a lot since then. Anyways, what was that final challenge again? Oh yeah. A high challenging steeple with no reward, built to be as infuriating as possible. Was built for 2022 in order to get a present, however got moved over to this event. How fun! I hate this steeple! It forces you to do like 5 billion truss flicks and 5 billion corner flips. The punishment is also extreme, so if you fail one jump, you're likely gonna go down like 3 floors. This steeple takes 5 minutes to beat, and it took me 145 along with 128 attempts. And what did I get for doing it? Jack squat! The only good thing I can say about this steeple is that it helped me be more consistent with my trust flicks. But besides that, I do not have anything good to say about this. It made me suffer way too much to get there. Snowman mech thing!
Hi, did you do the challenges?
Say hi to Eclipse for me, bitch!
Wait, what are you doing?
I knew you for less than 3 minutes. Good riddance. This monthly steeple was just fine, at best, really. In my opinion, floors 1 and 2, I don't really like them, but like, I can see how they're good. It's just, I myself didn't really have that good of a time with them considering how I kept failing on them, and a lot of people say that floors 1 and 2 aren't the best. However, after you get past floors 1 and 2, it's quite easy actually. Don't get me wrong, it's still an intense, except like, you know, you've got a safety net on your side. Overall, this was really well themed and basically should have made it into the main Silent Abyss. Unfortunately, it got moved to a monthly, but still, it's really cool. Yeah, fun fact, I didn't really like this steeple. You wanna know how much I spent on it in total? Nearly 2.5 hours with 92 attempts. Now, compared to Steeple of Zesty Situations, that doesn't sound too bad, but keep in mind, this steeple takes 15 minutes, while the other one takes 5. Not to mention that this steeple is extremely learny with its client objects. I probably shouldn't have went into it so soon. This was planned to be my first intense, however Steeple of Moonlit Heresy took that title. Either way, be sure you're at least kind of experienced with the game before attempting this one. I mean, yeah, since Biotech Genesis is coming out soon, you might want to try and get it done, but still. Okay, for starters, this is not harder than Steeple of Buoyant Automations. In fact, this doesn't even feel like an intense at all. It feels like a mid-challenging, maybe even a low-challenging. I mean, yeah, maybe the learning nature of the tower might contribute to its difficulty, but for me, this just does not feel like an intense. The tower's good, I like the contrast in nature and mechanical stuff, but yeah, it's quite nice. Don't let the difficulty intimidate you, because in my opinion, this is not intense. Hell, maybe you could even try this out for a first intense. However, with that, we are completely done with Garden of EToH, at least until Biotech Genesis, the Palace, comes out. Alright, done with that, what's next? Oh, I got an email, what does it say?
Hey, Nerdism! You may have beaten my unloyal minion, but I'll be back next year to give you as much torture and pain as possible. I'll add even harder steeples next time. For now, however, there's still one thing you missed. In order to completely 100% the event, you gotta beat the Citadel of Treats and Tricks. A remorseless difficulty. Considering how you barely beat SOMH, there's no chance you beat this one. Good luck, loser. You'll need it. With hate, E13.
Oh yeah, I have to do that still. Welcome to the true final challenge of Halloween 2023. I mean, technically it's a bonus challenge, but like, still, You want an item, you're gonna have to do this. Now, the interesting thing about this citadel is that it was initially supposed to be an intense tower. However, due to the frame, amount of floors, and mechanics, it got bumped up to remorseless and turned into a citadel. Meaning that when I beat this, it's going to be not only my hardest, my first remorseless, and my second citadel. Enough stalling. Let's get into the floors, which you can do at basically any order. Now, every single floor in this tower has its own gimmick. For this one, it's basically an auto-scrolling zombie ride. Shoot the zombies and targets, but miss the gems. If you don't do either of those, you take damage. It's not an insta-kill, but you need to be very careful because it can add up very quickly. This doesn't even really feel like EToH anymore, to be honest. The next floor is the pirate floor. First of all, you get introduced to the mechanics, also known as the instantly jump if you or else you fall swings and the boost pads. Once you do that, however, you get into the meat and bones of this floor. Yep, screw you, this is a chase floor now. Luckily, there's no punishment if you do fall, however, this floor is extremely learning, as is the entire tower. You don't have to go extremely fast, but at the same time, don't go too slow or else the monster catches you. It'll probably take you a few tries, however, it'll be fine once you get the hang of it. Next up is the castle floor, which I had the hardest time with due to its raw gameplay. Alongside the raw gameplay in question, you get to see this floor's gimmick in some sections. The gimmick in question being a 2D section, which I find really cool and are pretty much underrated in most towers. I just like the novel concept of these as a break from like the insatiably hard gameplay. Next up is the Matter Manor. This one's gimmick is that it's entirely top-down, but you have a limited visibility of platforms. There are also really tricky walls you have to jump around, along with you not being able to see the kill bricks that teleport you to the start of the checkpoint if you hit them. This floor was probably a lot trickier than the others, however, it's probably not the hardest one. One of the downsides of this floor is that you can't go back once you've started it, unless you want to reset the entire tower. Here we have the trap floor, which is probably the easiest floor out of the entire citadel. This floor is more reminiscent of like rage games where you have to like try and try again until you memorize where all of the traps are. The gameplay itself is like pretty easy, and if you look up a guide you can just know where all of the traps are automatically. It was still quite funny to get through. The ice floor is quite an interesting one. At the start of the floor, you're given a remote which can freeze kill bricks and platforms in the area. You can use this to your advantage, creating scenarios where you normally wouldn't be able to go. Also, the platforms aren't collidable when they're unfrozen. I really liked this concept. I'm a decently good fan of timing-based things, so I liked this floor. Welcome to the saloon, my least favorite floor out of all of them, because it took me the most time to do. The gimmick of this floor is that there is a gun trying to shoot you, and if it does, it flings you into the quicksand where you gotta go to your last checkpoint. You also have to, like, you know, fly with the momentum that you gain from being shot, and overall it's just kind of tricky in general. Not all of this tower's floors can be hits though, and I understand if some, in my opinion, aren't that good. Everything in this tower is well decorated, and don't get me wrong, it's just I myself personally didn't like this gameplay. Gary over here probably has one of the longest floors in the entire citadel. His entire thing is that he's like this Hello Neighbor-esque sorta guy, trapping anyone who dares try and invade his house for candy in his basement. This floor is more of an escape room stealth kind of thing. After you initially escape the room, there will be characters in which can see you, which will teleport you to your last checkpoint, which can get kind of annoying if you fail too many times. Some of the segments in this probably weren't that fun to me because, you know, a tightrope where if you fall too low you get spotted, hard wraps under a time limit, ice-based push boxes, you get the deal. Overall, this was probably it was fine, not my least favorite floor, but still. Now, the detective house is kind of interesting. This is a whodunit style floor. You have to go to 5 suspects' houses and hear their stories. Then, once you do, you jot it down on your notepad to keep track of what everybody says. One of the suspects is the actual murderer. You don't have to go to everyone's houses if you get like 4 and one doesn't line up with the other. By the way, this puzzle is entirely randomized. If you don't get it right, you're gonna have to restart the entire floor from the beginning. Not to mention this floor already takes like 10 minutes if you do all of them. Now, despite that, I actually liked this floor. It made use of logic skills, which I never expected to see in a EToH tower. I think this is like the second longest floor, maybe? Either way, despite this being 10 floors so far, we still have 2 more things to do before we access the final floor. The first town challenge is where you fall in the specific hole in the pirate floor, leading to an obby. The obby in question is morphers. Did I mention that this one segment is the hardest raw gameplay in the entire tower? Luckily it's pretty short, but you're probably gonna take a few attempts getting through this if you're not that skilled. Then again, if you're playing a remorseless, you're probably pretty skilled to begin with. The second town challenge is a maze, except there are constantly killbrick spinners trying to kill you. The killbrick spinners in question aren't that bad, you can evade them pretty easily, but you really need to keep track of how much damage you're taking because you could definitely die if it adds up too much. Once you get the key, you just go over to the pirate brig to get something for the alien guy, and then you get a candy. Now, I know that this footage is not my own, but I'm not gonna rebeat a remorseless citadel just for video footage, okay? This floor starts out with a reminiscence back to the original Steeple of— oh, never mind! Welcome to the real finale, a mashup of everything you've experienced so far. Luckily, there aren't that many sections that can kill you here. If you're not careful on the zombie part, you can definitely die, but still. Now, I loved this final stretch. It took all of the mechanics that I've loved in the past and put them all into one big wrap-up. This was splendid. There were some sections of this finale that I didn't really like, but at the same time, there were parts of this tower that I didn't really like in general. However, once you make it to the top of that big building, don't think you're out of things just yet. Welcome to Finale Part 2. Remember the chase sequence? It's back! This segment basically summarizes everything that the Citadel did, except way more fast-paced than before. This took me quite a few tries to get down, as again, this entire Citadel is learny, but still. Now, in one of the final sections of this finale, during the desert section, I fell in a pit, but didn't get teleported. This was extremely scary because I thought I had just been soft-locked and had to restart my 3-hour run. I genuinely thought it was over. That is, until I found my way outside of the map, and because I fell in the void, I got teleported back to the beginning of the finale. After you make it through that desert section, you gotta solve another case. Don't worry, this is the same every time, unlike the last one. Then, it's one final chase against the monster, the final stretch, the last thing keeping you from victory over this citadel. And then, you do it. It turns out that this entire citadel was a prequel to a different citadel in Zone 6. I'll get to that when the time comes, but for now, Kotat has been vanquished. I did it. I actually did it! After 3 hours, I beat Kotat! Now, I have no idea who this E13 guy is, besides the fact that he's Eclipse's boss, but when the time comes, I am going to explode them. For now, however, I think I'll rest a bit. EToH is a game about failing. Getting so far up, and then falling so far down. Even if you're the most skilled player, you still have to fall at some point. Sometimes being on the easiest tower in the worst way that you can imagine. Maybe you'll cry, maybe you'll not. Sometimes the way you fall isn't even fair. However, for every failure comes a victory. The things you once saw as impossible now become possible. And that feeling of success, that feeling of triumph, is beyond anything else. I don't know when, or even if, I'll be a soul crushing. All I know is that I'm going to get better and better at the game. I will eventually make it. Since I've already made 3 videos on this game, I'm probably not going to do another one unless I beat a soul crushing, or at least until that E13 guy shows up. But for now, I'll see you all next time! Wait, nothing interrupted me that time? Sweet, I can actually do a proper outro! Finally, now that I took care of that snowman guy, I can finally take a break. Why do I even keep doors here anymore if everyone I meet is just gonna... Hi, my name's Messiah. Don't worry, I'm not like evil or anything, I just wanna like hang out, I guess. Anyways, so I made this Pet Simulator fan game and I just wanted to show you and ask if you like it or not. Oh sure, I like Pet Simulator, so there's nothing wrong that can go with this. Messiah, this is just Pet Simulator, like, what are you doing? No, this is my fan game of Pet Simulator, it's completely different, trust me. How did you even get the assets for it? Modded games have always been a weird spot in the Roblox community. Modded games are basically games that steal assets from other ones and then change their own things to, I guess, try and have their own thing. One example of this is Hood Modded, a game that completely steals a lot of assets from the original Hood, yet still maintains a lot of popularity. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Hood Modded was more popular than the original game at some point. Can you imagine a stolen copy of your game having more players than the original? While there isn't any instance of this happening today, some modded games are still prevalent in Roblox today. In fact, when I was showcasing a Pet Simulator 99 bug in one of my videos, one person thought I was actually playing a fake! This realization that people are actually tricked into thinking that the real game is a fake inspired me to make this video in the first place. So that's what we're going to be doing today, reviewing fake popular games. This mod is called Old Pet Simulator X. It takes literally everything from the original game and changes stuff. There's a recreation of, I think, this one like leaked area from the game or something. It's here we learn the main gimmick of these modded games. You can actually buy pets with in-game currency. The pets in question being some old exclusive pets from really back then, along with some extra game passes, boosts, and basically everything you can buy with Robux. They also add random eggs to the game with rarely any models to them. One thing I notice is this tag that says you may not keep these gems if the game is deleted. Like, they know their game is getting taken down at one point, and they also know that the kids will get mad if it does get taken down. This is how I assume most modded games work, especially with simulators. Next up is Pet Simulator 99 R version, which took 150 billion years to load. Once it finally did though, this just flat out felt weird. Like, yeah, it was an asset flip of the original Pet Simulator 99, but it just didn't feel right. All of the GUIs just feel weird. Like, this doesn't feel like Pet Simulator 99, but it has the assets. It's like one of those uncanny kind of things. Like, it's just weird. And yes, this still has the buy stuff with currency stuff from the other game. I didn't get through much of it, but it just lacked a lot of the sounds and just charm that the original has. I have no idea what else it added either. Doors modded just feels like the worst one. They just coded it so that you get infinite stuff, and it's just, everything feels so cheap. Giant rainbow admin button, random parts that make you donate. Besides that, the game is virtually the same. In order to even access a lot of the modded stuff, it's just Robux. This, in my opinion, is the worst type of modded games. The one that changes almost nothing, and then just expects you to pay Robux to access the things that they did change. Mining Simulator modded has probably been around since forever. It contains every single event egg that was used in the game. Is it an asset flip? Yeah, of course it is! Why wouldn't it be? Yeah, it is a cool trip down memory lane with some of the older models finally being accessible after like 6 years, but all of the worlds are gone and just replaced with the eggs themselves. It just loses what made the original game special, the feeling of finally being able to obtain the thing you were working towards the entire time. That's what a lot of these modded games lack, the actual replayability of them. You just pay Robux for stuff and then suddenly, oh my goodness, you get the really cool thing in the game. But does that cool thing even matter if the game has like one player to it? Mining Simulator 2 does a similar thing. Bring back old event eggs, particularly filled with secrets to the brim, and sell you all of the game passes again, but with 50 Robux this time. Yay! I love spending Robux on a modded game, it's my favorite thing to do! The final type of modded games I want to talk about are please donate modifications. As expected, it's just an asset flip of the original game. How fun! However, one thing about asset stealing is that you can't actually take server-sided scripts. You can only take what's on client side. Therefore, when you go to the shop, it's just barren. There are no booths available in this type of shop. There's just nothingness, placeholders. Why would you even need the currency that it gives you every second, which is one of the claim to fame for all of these games? In fact, what's the point of any of these games? To trick your friends? I mean, I get it if you want to flex on your friends with a fake hatch, but at that point, wouldn't they already know if it's so prevalent? To any outsider, yeah, it's convincing, but it'll raise a few eyebrows, obviously. Then again though, is that really justification for stealing assets? Using exploited clients to basically steal someone's entire game for the sake of making a few Robux? Not to mention that you're running the risk of your game getting taken down, or worse. You do not want to screw around with copyright laws, and considering how massive some of these games are, I wouldn't be surprised if they started handing out DMCAs. We shouldn't have to be in a world where everything you make on Roblox can just be copied and passed off as some mod. Yes, Roblox is doing things about this, but the morality of the people who are actually making these mods is basically at the bottom of the barrel at this point. Hopefully though, it'll get better, and it already has with a lot of these games dying down and receiving what they deserve, copyright claims. All in all, I'd say it's looking up. Of course, I don't really like these types of games at all, I've expressed that multiple times throughout the video. But you shouldn't feel bad if you do play them. You get to play what you want to play, and while I personally wouldn't want to support these creators one bit, some people are still gonna do so. There are people young enough to play these. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you all next.
So did you like it?
It's May 15th, 2022, back when my content used to look like this. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest. However, I had started a project which would change the course of my Roblox career forever. That project is my working arcade on Roblox, Starcade. but it wasn't always called that. Welcome to Free Model Arcade. Yes, that is what I actually called it. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the major versions of my game and where we are now. In fact, by the end, I'll even show a little something that's not released yet, so stay tuned for that. But before we get into things, I'd like to explain some background. When I say working arcade, I don't mean just a bunch of mini-games. I mean actual working arcade machines where you can earn tickets and spend them on prizes. As these versions go on, the games get better and my coding skills improve exponentially. So let's get started with what I like to call version 0, Free Model Arcade. Complete with fluid physics, incredible optimizations, and the greatest gameplay you'll ever see. Let's play Zero Truths 3 Lies. Yeah, this is like very, very bad. The only thing that made this unique from the other slop games that were put out there was the prize shop in the top left, and even that was free modeled. At the time, I had literally zero coding experience. However, I did want to make some machines of my own. Which lead us into Starcade version 1, featuring my first ever machines. This version wasn't much different from Free Model Arcade, other than a lot of games were removed because I found out that the game ran like crap. Now featuring amazing machines such as... Yeah, the game still sucked. Everybody had to get their start somewhere, though, which lead us into Starcade V2. This time, the building didn't look like a hot mess. I tried having this big centerpiece game in the arcade, so I just took my friend's free model machine and modified it a bit, and yeah, it takes a bit of a while to pay out. It also had a free model dance floor that I modified for some reason. It has like a feature where you can change the color of it that I remember adding for some reason. Oh yeah, and remember that one game I mentioned earlier? Yeah, this is it now. There was also Guide the Ball Flip, where you could press a button to reverse gravity, except it was kinda scuffed. The prize shop was also removed, except we'd be getting a replacement for it soon. Welcome to version 3, the first version I ever bothered to advertise. Introducing the walk speed wheel. You pay a few thousand tickets and you get extra walk speed. It's that simple. If you manage to land 10 stars, you also get 10 walk speed too. What a steal! Some notable new additions was this Plinko style game, which is a modification of my friend's game made by a modification of my friend. Now, how did it work exactly? I wish I could tell you. Trio Spin is one of my most iconic machine modifications, which is actually still in use today. The first wheel were your base tickets, the second wheel multiplied your winnings, and the third wheel minused your tickets. If you got over 200 tickets, you could even spin the top wheel for over 20 times your tickets. Line Please was a reskinned light stopper themed after an emoji that I saw. Jump Dome Omega, free model jump and jackpot game now with a screen. No clever jump cut for this one. Welcome to Starcade V4. This version kickstarted what Starcade becomes today, even keeping some of the names for the areas up until the current version. This one let you change your walk speed, just don't set it to infinite or not a number though, or else... Grand Stars version 1 was my first attempt at making a coin pusher. It went about as well as you expect. For some reason, the coins just wouldn't push with the setup I had, so I had to make them constantly shake in order to update the collision for them, which at that point, it just looked incredibly weird. Different developers, mainly comprised of games made not by me. And while Chanceland does look a bit barren right now, it used to be a lot better, but the policy update happened, and at the time I had to remove all the stuff from it. In the later versions, it just looked like this abomination right here with like 50 jackpots or something. Instead of having GUIs to buy credits, you now walk up to the credit terminal to buy them. This will definitely help with monetization. Oh wait, there is none. V4 was kind of an innovative concept for me, and I'm glad I started it, because then it would lay the groundwork for... Yeah, this intro wasn't the greatest, but still. I aimed for a more city aesthetic in version 5 with a bunch of different buildings, kind of reiterating on the concept of version 4. It kept the walk speed setter and such, but now it had actual GUIs! Amazing! Now, there was one massive feature I added in this version, and that's the interpot. Every game you played, you had a 1 in 100 chance of activating it, or you could just trigger it directly with coins, which were a different currency. In this special interpot chance, a wheel spins at the top of the screen, and if you get all of them, you win over 3,000 tickets. This was hell to initially code, because I had no idea how remote events worked, so I had to do all of it through values, and it was hard as hell to code. But in the end, I still managed to do it. The main arcade's design was vastly expanded from last version. Notable releases included Dance Hands, a game where you needed to click text buttons across the screen. However, since they were text buttons and not server-based and that you couldn't check who the player was, you know, you could just go ahead and, I didn't really think much of it at the time due to the fact that there were no players. As a joke, I included the decal games, such as Wawa Cat the Game, oh, the misery, and its sister machine, Jinx the Game. Yeah, I made a lot of these. Different developers got a lot more games this version, including an elevator for some reason. Besides that though, it was really just more Starcade v4. There was an interesting feature though. You see, I had wanted to make machines for Plates of Fate Remastered, so I had completely recreated the style of the machines from there and made my own. And when they got rejected, I just added them into this game. They lasted for V5 and V5 only. Yay! Tap War is one of the worst machines I've ever created, despite me taking days to code it. You press 2 buttons back and forth over and over and then either heal yourself or attack an opponent. But the gameplay scripts weren't synced, so you could just have the ending sequence play multiple times on other machines. That's enough of V5. Time for version 6! Yeah, that tagline definitely held up well. Version 6 was the most unique, being a literal space station. Now, this version actually added levels to the game. Yes, actual levels. You could use them to play machines, access new zones, etc. A lot of other bad arcade games didn't have this level feature, only the big ones had them, which is exactly why I added them. There's nothing really that big to remark about the main arcade area, nor Chanceland. I mean, I added a bunch of games, but, I mean, that's a given at this point, right? The lounges were level-exclusive areas where you could play reskin games with higher payouts, which is what everyone wants. This totally didn't inflate the ticket economy. Oh yeah, by the way, this was Fortune Ticket Mania 3, a free model game I found, which is probably the laggiest thing ever made and makes the entire game slow down. It has a lot of features and is really well designed, but like, it's just way too bulky, man. Now, there was also a prestige feature where you could give up all of your levels for a bunch of prestige credits along with a ticket boost. Of course, this even more reinforced the problem of ticket inflation. Especially considering how high-paying the prestige games were. Like, seriously, if you had a lot of prestige credits, these games were way too overpowered. This version also saw the return of the prize shop, although quite basic, bland, whatever. Version 7 aimed to be one big building, or really multiple, filled with games all interconnected. By the way, this guy's name is Tony, keep him in mind for later. This version switched to a completely GUI-based shop, not that it mattered too much, just still pretty cool. It also had a party room that lasted for version 7 only. You could change the dance floor, fog, light colors, and messages and stuff, except it wasn't really bought, like, at all. The big new game made by Pauper22 and now them and Kobo7650 is Let's Fighta. This contributor game is the greatest arcade machine to exist. I'm not exaggerating here, it's not even close. What you're looking at now is a heavily outdated version of the game. And yeah, it is extremely laggy because version 7 didn't really run well, but I'll show you an updated version of it soon. The only thing you should know right now, however, is that it's a fighting game with only one button. There's not really much else to say about version 7, it just had its own charm, you know? However, it didn't run well, which leads us into... Starcade version 8, or as I like to call Starcade Land, is the start of what I like to call modern Starcade. It contains a GUI style that's still used today, and is probably pretty well performing. Instead of the sections being readily available to you, you now go through portals to access them, just like Nintendo Land. The arcade right now looks a bit barren due to a bunch of updates, removing a bunch of stuff, but it used to be a lot better, I'll give you that much. The Interpot system also got revamped. Now there are 4 different Interpots, each for credits and tickets. There's now a retro zone with old machines in it that I didn't really like that much anymore. Now we have our 4 main areas: arcade, different developers, Chanceland, and retro. It also had a custom card reader. It showed you the amount of credits you need to play it, the game name, and its level requirement, along with the amount of plays you get from it. While this version isn't the most up-to-date version of Let's Fighta, it's a lot more polished than the other one. Chanceland at this point's looking more like a graveyard due to the amount of games I had to remove due to the policy updates at the time. Just imagine like a bunch of slot machines here. While I found Starcade Land to be good at the time, I just couldn't expand it any further. I had plans for a hotel and everything, except the map design wouldn't really allow it. Which then led me into... This is the most up-to-date version that's available to the public right now. And look! Tony got a redesign! That's better, he's not bald now! There's now a Super Cube system where you can pay a bunch of tickets to earn a permanent ticket boost, similar to what Cornerstone Arcade has. There are new characters too, introducing Amelia, the crate shopkeeper, along with Camille, who helps out a lot. The game increased monetization by a lot, now including a full-on rewards card with a bunch of new bonuses if you paid a bunch of Robux. A workplace was also added where you could earn credits for free. There used to be a system where you could compete in one of 2 teams and play games to earn stuff for your team. However, that was discontinued in this version due to development of the next one. The arcade is definitely a lot more lively than before, now having 3 different floors to explore. One of my most polished machines at the time was Star Frenzy, a game based on Emoji Frenzy, where you have to time a button press to line up a button with the GUIs. It also had an updated card reader with refreshed designs for it. It had reward zones and everything. Different developers is a bit empty because one of our developers left, but still though, it was pretty cool. Also, Let's Fight It had its own save data system now, which was actually really cool. Crates for different cosmetics and super cubes were now added. You can now change your title and icon for the game. It plays this little animation too, which is updated in the newest one that's coming soon. Not to mention that there were now adventures to explore. What's in them? You gotta play to find out. Now, while developing this game, a little change to the terms of service happened. Except where prohibited by local law or regulation, we allow the portrayal of gambling experiences. However, no real money Robux or inexperienced items of value, blah blah blah. For me, it meant you can have all the gambling you want in your game as long as you can't pay Robux for it. Which is exactly what I did. I made 2 new currencies, each you cannot buy with Robux. Don't ask me why the game runs so slow here, we're working on it in the new version, okay? This game is what I considered at the time to be my magnum opus. Every version since Land, I told myself there wouldn't be another one, that this was it. Except, I just kept getting unsatisfied. Every few months, I just felt the need to make another version. And, well, that's exactly what I'm doing now. Or rather, what we're doing. You see, all of the Starcade versions up to this point had been solo projects besides the different developers' games. All of the maps I had done entirely by myself. However, with this next version, I hired a team. Introducing World, Junie, and Kobo, my friends and developers of Starcade Ultimate. This will be the 10th and final revamp of Starcade. We are aiming for this project to be as good as possible. A beacon that you can charge for a ticket boost, loads of new awesome decorations, even some old games made by other developers that were lost to the sands of time now restored. We're aiming for this to be the ultimate arcade experience on Roblox. Featuring tons of adventures, things to do. I don't want to spoil too much about this project just yet, but if you want updates, then you should subscribe to our alternative YouTube channel and join our Discord server linked in the description. And that is the history of my game. What started out as a silly little side project of mine turned out to be something much greater. It only took around 2 years for it to happen. With that being said, thank you all for watching this short little history video. I had a fun time recapping everything. Even though the video was a bit different than normal, I still hope you all enjoyed it regardless. Now with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. It's event time. A bit over a year ago, I did a full walkthrough series on the RB Battles Season 3 event. The viewership in question? Look, I know it wasn't the greatest, but it was honest work, okay? The point is, I'm no stranger when it comes to Roblox events. If there's an active Roblox event going on, chances are I'm gonna do the entire thing. So when there was rumors of a new Roblox event after over a year of waiting, I was stoked. Roblox had discontinued egg hunts back since early 2020, and the closest thing we had to a proper egg hunt was Metaverse Champions. There was speculation of an egg hunt 2024, people were theorizing what games were gonna be included because of the placeholder items. Even David Baszucki himself was teasing this event. Eventually though, the name was confirmed. The Hunt First Edition. One of seemingly many Roblox events to come in the future. More and more games were confirmed to be joining until we are eventually where we are now. However, what seemed like my dream turned into my 20-hour nightmare as I scrambled to collect all of the badges. How many did I have to collect? Well, to answer that, first we're gonna have to start all the way at the beginning. Around an hour and 20 minutes before the hunt was officially supposed to begin, I saw a message saying that apparently one of the games had released their badge early. So I got to work and the journey began. Before we begin, however, I'd like to take a moment to explain how this video is going to work. First, I'm going to show you the game I'm playing, its mission, and then after I talk about it, I'm going to rate it 1 out of 10. Got that? Alright, let's begin. First up on the list is Brookhaven. The premise of this one's pretty simple. Once you start the hunt, 20 random eggs will spawn around the map. I'm not sure if they're in preset locations or not, but they probably are. Thankfully, you can spawn a vehicle to speed up the process, which I wasn't really aware of until later. The hunt is actually compressed in a small area in the map, which I like. You don't have to go all around the entire game in order to find these eggs. It was fine enough, really. I give it a 6 out of 10. Gets the job done and it was slightly enjoyable. Next up on the list is Twilight Daycare. The mission here is to complete 5 child tasks. I'm unsure if this applies to the child themselves doing the task, or both the adult and the child getting credit for doing a task together. However, either way, I was a child and I got the needs done and got the badge. This one wasn't really that interesting. It did stuff that you would normally do in the actual game, and there was nothing really exclusive to the hunt itself. Plus, as a child, you could literally just AFK the entire thing and get the badge. You just need to have like a friend or a stranger do it. Not really that intuitive in general. I give it a 4 out of 10. Maybe next time just try and do something original. Next up is Gunfight Arena. Yeah, really nice transition there. The goal this time around is to collect 10 of 5 different types of items. The way you get these items is through kills, whether they're through your own or through someone else's. Once you get them, they're in your collection. In my opinion, this is like a pretty nice fighting game. Yeah, like it doesn't really fit in with theming to the hunt, but at the same time, it's enjoyable and actually got me a bit invested. Not every challenge has to be focused around theming, and this one, for me, was at least pretty enjoyable. At least it's a breath of fresh air from my usual type of games. 7 out of 10, it was pretty good, I guess. The next game I tried out is Doors, one of the most popular horror games on Roblox. This, surprisingly, is the one that I see people have trouble with the most, and that's completely understandable. Doors is a hard survival game about trial and error, figuring out which each of the monsters do and how to deal with them. I myself didn't get through on the first try either. I had to find a team that knew what they were doing and follow them all the way till the end, and I even used a revive along the way, which you can only use 1 of per run. This, in my opinion, is what events should do. Something exclusive to an event or something big for an event. The only thing that would stop me from giving this a 10 is if it had more hunt theming, but even then, this is Doors, not everything needs to be about the hunt. I just have a slight suspicion that this wasn't made with the hunt in mind, or maybe it was made with one of the prompts in mind, but it doesn't really show it too much. Regardless of which it is, I'm happy to give this one a 9 out of 10, one of the better ones in this event. Bike of Hell is next, and sadly I forgot to record actual gameplay of the event stage. However, I did record normal footage of the game, so there's that. This game is exactly what it sounds, a Tower of Hell themed around biking and more biking. This game is a nightmare to be free to play on. It is just not very friendly at all with people who don't pay. I had to buy a VIP bike and a gravity coil in order to do this. Very greedy indeed. The stage itself was fine. It was hunt-themed, of course. It had core blocks and stuff and blue atmosphere, which I did like. It's just that the game itself wasn't very enjoyable at all. 5 out of 10. Not the best, but not unbearably bad either. Weapon Fighting Simulator is fine at best, greedy at worst. Its quests involve, you know, stuff like getting specific drops from enemies, defeating a certain amount of enemies, and, you know, just opening eggs with a currency you can buy with Robux. Definitely not pay to win here. It didn't take me too long, but it was pretty tedious and not at all related to the hunt. Just go ahead and hook yourself to the game or whatever. I liked some of the visuals, but it just wasn't that good at all. 4 out of 10. Not quite original with what it does, but at least the visuals were decent. Pet Simulator 9. Wait, what? I got the badge? What? I mean, okay, I guess? Next up was My Restaurant. Now, I had played this game a while ago, so I had all the equipment that I needed. It's just that since I recently had prestiged, I had lost all of my staff, so I did have to sit down and AFK a bit. However, I did have a lot of the gear needed. It was literally just AFK simulator. So, while the modeling was good, yeah, it's just the gameplay isn't there at all, and that makes up like 90% of it. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 10. Sorry, I guess. The third and final big games experience in this event, seriously, how the hell did they get so many in here? Is Big Paintball 2, another shooter game. Similar to Gunfight Arena, your objective is to get 50 kills, except you can kill them in 3 different ways. The minigun with fast firing but low accuracy, the rifle with medium accuracy and speed, and finally the sniper with pinpoint accuracy but very slow speed. I mainly went with the minigun for this one, and they don't really give any differences in terms of skins, it's just they look cool. This one, I feel, was slightly worse than Gunfight Arena though, primarily because, like, you know, it's just, the map design just makes it so, like, you can instantly just die, I guess. As in with Gunfight Arena, you actually have a health system instead of just instantly dropping dead whenever one bullet hits you. For those reasons, I'm probably going to give this one a 5 out of 10. It wasn't awful, but again, the theming isn't there and it's just a normal gameplay mechanic. Adopt Me's was fine enough. You had to go back to different events in the game because apparently Roblox gave them the prompt time travel. This is actually quite unique. Usually when events disappear from a game, they're usually just gone forever, but in this case, they actually reuse the map. And while I'm generally not for reusing content, I feel like this is a good use for it. For each of the 3 time periods, there's one objective. The first one has you collect crabs. The second one is that one Price is Right minigame. And the third one is Minefield from Pet Simulator 99, except when this was made, Pet Simulator 99 wasn't made. Not to mention here, you actually tell which tiles are fall through. All in all, pretty unique and fits the theming well, so I'm going ahead and give this a 7 out of 10. It was fine enough, I guess. I don't really have any opinions about Restaurant Tycoon 2. All of my opinions from My Restaurants persist with this game. Either way, it's just AFK and wait until one customer just spits out eggs and then collects them so that you can get those sweet, sweet hunt points. At least this time you actually have to walk over to collect the eggs, plus they're actually Easter-themed items, both of which bump my review of this to a 5 out of 10. Not very good, not very bad, just eh. Don't worry though, because the really bad ones will come down later. Down later is now. Oh god, Skibbity Toilet! Welcome to Toilet Tower Defense, the tower defense about Skibbity Toilet. 5 eggs in 3 different areas, the lobby, the main game, and the trading hub. Some are hidden well, but the ones that require you to be in-game actually require you to join multiple times, which I don't really like. It's kind of annoying having to leave the game, then join back in order to get certain eggs. It was decent. I can't believe I'm saying this about Skibidi Toilet, but it was just decent. Not enjoyable, but like, it wasn't bad per se. I'm going to say this as unbiased as possible. 6 out of 10, okay? Blade Ball was up, and now it's just get a few statistics in a few games. Blade Ball itself is like kind of enjoyable. I can see the appeal for it. I only played it a bit and have never played it beforehand, but I guess it's like fine. It was actually slightly addicting, in which I can see where the, you know, gambling part of it comes in with all the different skins and abilities. All in all, it's just pretty good. It was better than a few of them, I guess. I don't really have that much to say about the game, considering how there's no unique thing for the hunt. 6 out of 10. They didn't really try too hard, but the game itself they did. And just like that, the hunt had begun. Yes, all of that was before it officially began. Now then, we've gone this entire time without seeing our end goal for this. We've just been looking at question marks. So, I mean, I guess let's just see how many we have to get. 95? You're telling me out of the 100 games that participated in this, I have to do 95 of them? Whoever decides to do that has to be insane! While at first Death Ball just seemed to be like a clone of Blade Ball, I found that its quest was actually really nice. They made a whole Core Blocks boss fight for this, which I love. The gameplay was the same as Blade Ball, in which, while that was kinda cheap because this game was inspired by Blade Ball, I do still really like the mechanics in this one. Especially since this is also mixed with an anime game and I got the Luffy one. 8 out of 10, I liked the gameplay, theming, and the boss fight. Barry's prison runtime, and after gracing us with the presence of Skibidi Barry, we move on to our challenge. 10 donuts are scattered around the obby. If you don't find them all, too bad. Replay the entire thing. Sorry. By the end, it definitely felt like I was missing a few, but apparently I wasn't, and I got all of them first try. They're not really that hidden, because again, this entire thing is for children. But at the same time, like, yeah, it can be a bit tricky, like, slightly tricky. Not really that much theming related to the hunt besides that. This just sounds like it was going to be a planned event regardless. 5 out of 10. The obby was kind of bland, although I did like the theming, but the gameplay was just the same as it was normally. Tower Defense Simulator was great. It had the Core Blocks theme, it had the time travel theme, and it did everything right. The one bad thing I have about this game is that, you know, it's a tower defense game, and, like, it's not really that much active in general. Like, you do play stuff, but it's mainly just idling around a bit, which, for a tower defense game, might be good to some people, but for me, it's just not my type too much. Either way though, I love the theming, from the skybox to how the map gradually decays over time. I wish some of these games were more like this. 9 out of 10. Great work, Tower Defense Simulator developers. I hope you all can outdo yourselves next year. I hate the Livetopia quest. You wanna know what you gotta do? Okay then! Step 1 is to grab a frozen safe so you can melt it in water and do nothing for 3 minutes. Then you go to your house and 5 times in a row, do nothing for a minute and then play a crappy match minigame. What's the point of the breaks for premium payouts? This is your one chance, your one shot at having popularity, and you use it with an AFK simulator? The one thing that's stopping me from giving this a 1 out of 10 is the match minigame, but that's it. 2 out of 10. This entire practice just disgusts me in general. Arm Wrestle Simulator was, like, decent. It's mainly just like a copy-paste simulator. Yeah, I mean, like, at least it kinda looks pretty good, which is the thing stopping me from giving it a low score, but at the same time, it wasn't the greatest either. It was mainly just break a few breakables, get strength, find keys. It was decent, kinda. 5 out of 10, because, like, while I did like the decorations, it just seemed like another event thing. Metro Life's quest sucked. Okay, yeah, the atmosphere was pretty good, but the balloon you need to go in goes so damn slow. That's the only reason of this quest length, because you just go so slow. This is literally just a whole W simulator. Make the balloon faster. 1 out of 10. This was absolutely inexcusable from the developers here. Absolutely awful.
What's up? What's going on? How are you doing on this fine day, my brother?
Car Dealership Tycoon didn't really have that much of an enjoyable quest in general, really. It was just mid. With it being a driving game, yeah, the controls are kinda slippery considering how you're in, you know, car controls, but that's the same for every car game. The game isn't bad, it's just the quest itself wasn't really enjoyable too much. Honestly, I'd prefer if you just do some, like, race or something on an exclusive course, but I highly doubt that this kind of game would do something like that. Since I had to look for quite a while, I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 10. Maybe next time try and copy what Brookhaven did and just put your eggs in a small area instead of having them scattered across the map. Oh look, another driving game, how fun! I find this one better than the last though, as the controls just feel better, you get to go a lot faster, plus you don't need to find every single egg as they actually spawn, not having to have preset locations that you have to go find, you just collect them as you drive. The racetrack I had to go on did feel a tiny bit bland though. All in all though, I found this at least slightly enjoyable, which is a compliment when it comes to the hunt. 6 out of 10, not the greatest event ever, but still better than nothing. In spray paint, a thief stole some old guy's spray can, so you gotta get it back from him. Now, the first part of this little hunt thing is you have to actually draw a portrait of the thief. Now, the game actually can't detect if you're drawing the thief or not, so you just have to draw for a bit before just talking to him and he'll, I guess, tell you where they are. Well, actually, he doesn't, because apparently he lost the cans to some stray dogs. So, you gotta go find all 9 of the cans. Gameplay-wise, this was, like, fine. I mean, I guess. Not too good, not too bad, which is why I'm exactly giving this a 6 out of 10. I mean, they gave it their all, I guess. I did not like the Elemental Powers Tycoon quest. This was literally just doing the Tycoon. I've heard that it takes 45 minutes for some people, and I had to spend Robux on it. What was the goal here? Premium payouts or Robux players? Either way, it's just awful. The one redeeming quality is that I became Sans Undertale. That's it. 2 out of 10. Try actually making a good thing next time. The challenge for Survive the Killer wasn't really that interesting either. You had to go ahead and pick up an energy core hidden around the map, and then survive with it. One good thing is that it's not restricted to one player. Every survivor can get it, it's just that you gotta survive with it. I got my friend Icy to be killer and then just AFK the entire round so I survived with it. I tried doing it in a public server, however I did not want to try that. But yeah, shout out to them. 4 out of 10. You tried, but I just don't think this is my thing. Dragon Adventures was kinda cool. You went to a volcano area and then you gotta beat up these shadow demon things. And then once you do, you bring the egg right back over to Mama Dragon. The controls, luckily, were pretty easy to understand. Plus, even with starter gear, it wasn't really too bad. I give this one a 5 out of 10. It was pretty good for what it was worth. Fruit Battlegrounds was really just confusing in general. The game gives you zero indication of what you had to do. I had zero idea what I needed to get done. However, I'd seen a rumor that was like a 15% chance when you killed somebody, so I spent like 30 minutes just killing the same person, only to realize that that was a lie. And when I did find a guide, it turned out the person was actually advertising a crypto miner. I then finally realized I needed to double kill, but one problem, everyone else in the server was way too overleveled. I eventually got one guy down and then killed my friend and finally got the badge. 3 out of 10, at least tell the player what you need to do. Here we have Legends of Speed, a game that I used to play. Oh wait, I got the badge. Oh, come on! Again?! Bayside High School did not do something I expected for a roleplay game. They recreated Guitar Hero in Roblox. Or Friday Night Funkin', or Osumania, or any 4-key rhythm game. Either way, they put a rhythm game in Roblox, and I like it. It fits time travel well, it's just good in general, and it's short and sweet. It's not absolute perfection in my opinion, but it's one of the best ones that I've seen. 9 out of 10. Great work, developers. Emergency Response Liberty County was just okay at best. It was like a riddle hunt, which could easily just be solved by looking up a guide. Plus, you could just get hints immediately and go ahead and, find where it is. In my opinion, this was just mess, so I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. I mean, it was fine. It's check-in time. Looks like that we have 30 badges so far. Metro Life was definitely the worst one I've played so far. It is literally just holding a button. The balloon also went like 1 mile per hour too. The best one I've played was probably Doors. Yes, it's really challenging, but that's kind of the point. Difficulty doesn't make a game good or bad if it's fair. With that being said, why were most of the games just mediocre? I believe that because of the 3-week time period that the developers had to work with, the quality control just wasn't there. Made even worse by the fact that probably not that many developers wanted to do it, and the ones that did were probably engagement farmers. We can't make an opinion too early though. With that being out of the way though, we got our staffs. We're 30 out of 95 there. Oh god, we are not even a third of the way through. The course design on Wild Horse Islands did kinda hurt my eyes a little bit. It is quite saturated indeed. This was just kind of painful to get through considering how the horse just moves pretty slow in general. Plus, it's not really that long, like at all, really. To me, it was just boring. And when your only goal is to have an entertaining experience during the hunt, you don't want to be boring. Being boring is how you end up with a 4 out of 10, which is exactly what I'm going to give this game. Mega Mansion Tycoon was just lazy in general because the only thing that you do to complete the quest is to just progress in the Tycoon, which either requires you to AFK for a long time or for you to spend Robux. At the very least, the particles at the end were cool, which is the only reason why I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 10. Club Roblox's quest was actually surprisingly well made. You'd think that this kind of game would just have a generic egg hunt, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. It had its own secret underground facility with puzzles you needed to solve and an obstacle course. I did all of this with a baby in my hand, by the way. Pretty, unique way to do things. 8 out of 10. You did pretty good on this one. How in the ever-living fuck did this get past quality control? You literally do nothing for 15 minutes! They couldn't even bother to get the English version of the logo! This singular game manages to insult every other game that participated in this event. I am too stunned to say anything about this game. This is going to be probably the one and only time I am going to give a game a 0 out of 10. Screw you. Maybe I got a bit too heated there, maybe. Regardless, that attempt, if you can even call it that, at having a game for the hunt was miserable. Maybe the next game will calm me down a little bit. No. This can't be. As you would expect, this is just another team up with someone, get through the game together, yada yada yada. Nothing we hadn't seen before, it's just another game trying to capitalize off it. Of all the games to include in the hunt, this one? Well, I suppose I have to. Welcome to Carry a Friend, the game where you carry a friend. Now, let me just go ahead and list off the positives first. It's well coded, they have kinda good wire minigames, and I like the stud aesthetic. Now, what about the bad stuff? Robux items to kill everyone, putting items in your hotbar that don't work without Robux, and that when you fall in the void, you have to restart the entire thing. Like, look on the left, there is a kill all button. It also costs 100 Robux to skip a stage. Oh, but at least you get a free UGC after inviting your entire friends list. This game sucks, but it is not nearly on the level as Snowboard Obby, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this a 3 out of 10. Consider yourself spared. From going from one greedy game to another, Pull a Sword is not any better. I had to sit and AFK for 30 minutes grinding strength for this game. And no, none of the Robux pets work in this event world despite it being constantly advertised to you. Oh yeah, and not to mention the definitely unlicensed characters in this. Not really good for PR to have a bootleg Goku in one of the games for your big event. Look, I know you have 100 games participating, but you gotta have some quality control. 3 out of 10 as well. This was bad, but, like, around the same as the other one. Natural Disaster Survival was meh. It's a good game, but the quest was kinda lackluster. In every match, 3 clocks spawn. However, only 3 players per match can pick up a clock, and if you don't get one, sorry, you're gonna have to wait till the next one. I myself didn't have too much of an issue when completing this, however I can imagine that someone with high ping would have a pretty bad time trying to get all of them. Again, the game is basically a timeless classic, haha get it because clocks. But this just seemed just meh. 4 out of 10, at least it was better than the other ones we've seen. Funky Friday! Oh god, it's Game Fam. Now, I'm not gonna go ahead and grade this solely because of the fact it's Game Fam, but I'm just gonna grade this fairly. Half of the songs either sound like they weren't made for Friday Night Funkin', or that they were a Friday Night Funkin' song from 2021. I'm not too big of a rhythm guy, but then again, this was already similar to that one high school game that we played earlier. I do like the background too. 6 out of 10, I can tell that they put at least some effort into this. Strongman Simulator actually kinda surprised me with his quest, because I thought it was just going to be another generic event simulator. No. For this one, you actually have to complete basically a Rage Game tier dragging puzzle. 3 of them to be specific, however you get checkpoints after each one. It did, like, feel frustrating, however I didn't really experience any rage from it. It just, like, felt that I was just, the physics gonna screw me over and I was gonna have to restart. Either way, I find this kinda unique, better than Funky Friday, but not enough to give it a 7, so I'm going ahead and going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Probably one of the only half ratings I'll give. Treasure Hunt Simulator's quest was just bad. Being a digging simulator kind of game, you gotta find 3 different chests. I played this game a lot a few years back. However, I can imagine that it would be even worse of a time for someone who didn't even play at all. For me, this was literally just an AFK simulator. And it's actually a hold-click simulator for someone who doesn't have the black hole that costs a few thousand Robux. I can't believe I'm saying this for a game this innocent, but I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. Ew.
Warning, scary alert.
Ninja Legend! Surely there's something for this. Alright, maybe Muscle Legends will do better. Okay, but in all seriousness, the ones that require you to do an objective that you might have already had are just lazy. Oh yeah, also, before we continue, you know what to do. Oh good, one that I haven't even played yet. In Lumberjack Simulator, your goal is to- wait, hang on a moment. This is just the same game as Pull a Sword! Like, actually, the exact same game! Down to the GUIs! And it also took 20 minutes to complete! What is happening? Look, I get if you couldn't do much. I know, it's hard to be on a 3-week time limit, but copying your game and just putting a different quest in a different game, why? Someone else would have killed to have your spot, you know, and you just wasted on another copy-paste AFK simulator? No, I'm not even going to give you the grace of a 2 out of 10. 1 out of 10 for you. Need More Friends was like kinda cool, I guess. It had done its own thing, which I like. I always like having a unique thing in Roblox events. But all in all, just felt like an obby, felt like a maze, etc. Not enough for a 7. So I'm probably going to give it a 6 out of 10. Definitely not the worst thing that we've seen so far, but not the best. Sonic Speed Simulator just felt tedious. Your mission is to go to like Eggman's base or whatever and find 100 time shards. The problem is, unlike every single other collectible in the game, you have to activate a proximity prompt to collect them. Now, I'm like 95% sure that this was made to combat exploiters, but at the same time, like, why? It's just so annoying having to completely stop in order to collect a collectible. And the fact that you gotta do this 100 times just annoys me. 4 out of 10. It wasn't like the absolute worst thing ever because of the atmosphere. I can tell that they really did try with Astro Renaissance. The art direction is amazing in my opinion. It's just that this feels more like an art showcase than having actual gameplay. Don't get me wrong, this game looks cool. It's just that like the obbies just feel bland. There was also a boss fight at the end, however the gameplay itself was pretty lackluster. It had all the things lined up for a perfect hunt event, however the execution was just slightly flawed. 7 out of 10, I can tell that they did really try with this one. Military Tycoon was just tedious to get through. Your goal is to get 20 crates scattered across the map, except they expect you to defend yourself against armed guards with underleveled gear. Did I mention that if your car's HP runs out, you explode? You can't spawn cars outside of your base either, so if your car breaks down, too bad. You either have to walk or respawn. The fact that the crates are so far out is just kind of annoying considering how you basically always have to at least tank a few hits. Either that or have to take out the guards with your under-equipped weapon. Well, I mean, the weapon was fine, it's just they always got at least some hits in on the car. The only way to get more HP on the car is either by paying Robux or just by progressing in the Tycoon. Yeah, I'm just gonna give this a 4 out of 10 just straight up. I know I've been giving that a lot, but still. Cheese Tower Defense had a pretty cool Easter event. It works fine enough, but in the end of the day, it's still just AFK for a lot of it since it's a tower defense game. 6 out of 10, it's, I mean, good for what it's worth. And now we are officially halfway through the hunt. Let's take a break for a bit. Wait a minute, I'm number 24 in the entire event right now? I mean, I know I've been doing all of these non-stop, but I didn't think I was good enough to be in the top 25. Nevertheless, before we move on to the latter half, let's talk about some of the games real quick. It seems that all of the events we've seen are either get a statistic, progress a certain amount in the game, or do a special event quest. I've also noticed a strong time travel theme in some of the games. My prediction is that Roblox gave the developers a prompt of either time travel, portals, or core blocks. The quality control just doesn't seem to be there considering how we've been through Snowboard Obby and stuff, alongside Arm Wrestling Simulator and Lumberjack Simulator basically being the same game that got through twice. I think the low development time is what caused all of these games to just be mediocre. 3 weeks in general is not a lot, and that's proved more and more evident by the previous games that we've played. This all just feels very new for Roblox. A new type of event, kind of like Metaverse Champions, but different. All of these games at once just feels overwhelming considering how I just like to get all of it done at once. With that being said, we're done with the first half, so let's move on to the next. No, not again, I'm not strong enough! It was actually not that bad. One minigame and a Half-Life reference later.
Morning, battler. Rise and shine.
You got to choose between Rat Battle and Rap Battle. I chose Rap Battle, completely expecting to go into Friday Night Funkin', however instead I was met with Parappa. Being RB battles and the fact that the developers are seriously goated, I like this one. I heard that the alternative path is like a PvP against rats in a sewer. I'm not sure how good that one is, however, I'm going to rate this one an 8 out of 10. Continue being awesome. Collect All Pets is a unique simulator where eggs are the collectibles. Well, coins too, but yeah, you get the point. This game is about finding as many pets as possible, whether through eggs or through fusion. Nevertheless, this is still a milestone game that actually did require me to spend a bit of Robux, I believe. It's still a simulator, pretty annoying to get through too, so I'm going ahead and give this one a 5 out of 10. Tsunami Game just claims to be crushed by a speeding wall mixed with red light, green light, and to be honest, I don't really see where the red light, green light part comes into it, because this game just literally shares all of the same mechanics with be crushed by a speeding wall. And yeah, being hit by the wall resets all your progress. And yeah, people can summon it whenever they like. You basically need to get to the end and then do a walking simulator in order to complete the event. It was like kinda interesting to get through up until this point, so I'm going ahead and be nice and give it a 4 out of 10. Maybe something after the UFO would be good, or maybe just decrease the walk time. War Tycoons quest just seems like Military Tycoons quest, but worse. Now, all of the items are in preset locations, so you're gonna have to look for them. Also, the region that you're finding them in is now densely packed with players, so you're gonna have people shooting at you unless you tell them that you're friendly. Also, I didn't easily get a Jeep, I had to spend Robux to get it, so bad. Yeah, I didn't really like this one considering how long it took me to get them, and considering how this is just Military Tycoon but worse, I'm going ahead and give this one a 3 out of 10. Not very good. My Hello Kitty Cafe plays the exact same as my restaurant, and because I share the same feelings between the two, I'm just going to skip the monologue and give this one a 3 out of 10. Break-In 2 is probably one of the most unique story games I've seen, with you actually having to upgrade your stats by doing things, and then having to earn money by fighting an infinite amount of bad guys. I'd love to give this a high score, but the quest just wasn't good. Yeah, the gameplay was fine, but all you had to do was just survive up until the 3rd wave. And if you have tons of other people in your server, that means you can just AFK until you do get it. I'm really hesitant about this score, but I'm just going to say 5 out of 10. The game was in the right place, it's just that the quest wasn't really that good. Catalog Avatar Creator was actually really nice considering how it had a semi-retro aesthetic with all of its GUIs and stuff. This game either had you choose between Team Deathmatch or Capture the Flag, with 4 different teams based on avatar packages that you could play as. This is a PvP game. Either you're really good at it and you win, or you're really bad at it and you lose. But it's not all that, because apparently this game's player base loves letting overseers win. So it's basically a race to see who selects the overseer team first and who wins. Then again, that's not Catalog Avatar's creator's fault. But besides that, it was just a pretty generic PvP game. It's still solid, but it's just kind of not original, I guess? I'm not gonna take away too much for that though, which is why I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Pretty good. SpongeBob Simulator just smells bad. Another game owned by GameFam and another lazy progression quest. The fact that this took 30 minutes did not surprise me, but I did it anyway. This was basically Pet Simulator but SpongeBob and worse. Plus with just a hint of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles everywhere. Since this entire thing was literally just AFK Simulator, at least the visuals were good, but I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10 either way. All-Star Tower Defense was just another tower defense, except they couldn't even bother to get an event world for it, so they just reused the first level. All you really do is just survive until the last wave, in which a golden bunny spawns and then you take it out. They didn't even try getting a good quest out, so I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Just try and make at least something next year. World 0 was pretty tedious too. It was just kill enemies and just pray that you get egg drops because they're super rare, I guess. Not really that much to say other than the visuals are pretty good, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a 4 out of 10. Yay! Car Crushers 2 is a satisfying game where you absolutely obliterate cars using various different doohickeys and mechanisms. The hunt quest this time around was simply to complete the tutorial. Like, actually, they just straight up say it's the tutorial that you have to complete. I would give this, like, a low score because of the severe laziness with this. However, I think that the game is actually somewhat decent, so I'm going ahead and give it a 5 out of 10 because it works well. War Machines was basically Iron Man Simulator, where you basically had to kill 60 different rebels. I like the animations and the design pretty well, but the combat just feels a bit iffy, at least for the starter suit. Plus 60 just felt like a bit much, even though that there are a lot of enemies crowded around specific locations, and it literally tells you where they are. It's just that a lot of people are competing for them. I'm not really sure what else to say, so I'm just going to give it the exact same score I did with the last game and give it a 5 out of 10. SCP Roleplay actually had a unique event, although a bit flawed. Number 1, there was no punishment for dying, so you're basically guaranteed to win if you last long enough. And number 2, after a while, the waypoints just go away, meaning you don't know where the electrical boxes are, so you're just spent with minutes trying to find out where they are. And that's a little bit frustrating when you're constantly flooded with enemies to kill. This had potential, and I like the dedication where this is, but it's just like kinda decent at best. 6 out of 10, I like the fact that there's actually something new. For Please Donate, I actually really liked this one. It was a combination of a pipe puzzle along with a mining simulator. The first part of the whole event thing is when you try and solve these pipe puzzles that you are given a time limit for. I assume that if the time limit runs out, you just restart, but I guess it's fine with the time limit you're given. It was probably made for children. Once you do that, it's off to the diamond mines for you, buddy! You're a slave now! No, but seriously, like, this is, like, fine. Not really that great gameplay, but hey, they did the best they could for a diamond mining game. I would give this a higher score, but due to the tediosity of the diamond mining game, I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. They still did a really good job. Life Together was actually quite creative with its event. You have to actually take photos of the eggs with one of the apps that you have. I'm actually quite surprised on how they did manage to do this, but it's pretty good for what it's worth. I just wish that the eggs weren't all in the park. If they were like better spaced out, then maybe I would give it a higher score, but I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 for all of this. Berry Avenue felt more like a sponsorship than the actual event. This company called like Elf Up is sponsoring it, and while we've seen this company before, it's just blatant that it's everywhere now. The quest box permanently has the company logo above it. Plus, literally all you do is make a bowl of fruit. For some reason, it's a beauty company that's sponsoring this, in which I have no idea what this has to do with making a fruit bowl, but all I do know is that this is something you can do in the main game. 4 out of 10, maybe make like a metaverse meal next time or something. Royal High's quest actually felt like a Mario Party minigame. Luckily, you don't need to actually win, which would have made this quest a lot worse. All you need to do is collect 50 eggs. This one was surprisingly pretty fun with all the random events that happened, and was a neat little distraction from all of the horrors that the rest of the event had. I like this one a bit, 7 out of 10. I wish it had more stuff though. Warrior Cats actually had a proper egg hunt that you needed to do. Albeit pretty short if you just want the badge, however it's more expansive if you actually want the stuff in the game. It was kind of easy for me considering how 2 of the ones spawn directly where you spawn. It's kind of RNG based, kind of not. The other one I found in a waterfall. I like the dedication they had for specifically making an event world for the Easter event, so I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Other games should look up to this one. Dungeon Quest had pretty generic statistic quests that could basically be completed in 2 runs. I had played the game prior, so I could basically vaporize any enemy in front of me besides the boss, which I could take out in like 10 hits. I don't really have much else to say. It's a dungeon game where you kill enemies. Not really that interesting. 4 out of 10, because it's pretty lazy, honestly. I admire the dedication of Maple Hospital for trying to have a unique event, however, it's just not very good in general. A lot of it is just walking, doing one thing, and then walking again. Not very interesting. Especially since the quest was broken in public servers and I had to restart it. The big climax boss battle at the end wasn't really interesting either. It was literally just hold a button. Really? I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 as a consolation prize. You did decent. Drive World's quest is to go to the junkyard and back 10 different times. Your vehicle is also slower than usual with the back thing that you have, which is very fun. Unless, of course, you spend Robux so your car goes faster. It doesn't directly advertise this to you, but this was still just quite painful. It did feel fun seeing all of the destruction around me while I was breaking down the fences to get back to the junkyard. 3 out of 10. It was painful, but not extremely painful. Dress to Impress was just boring at best. Your goal is to collect 20 bunnies in 2 consecutive rounds, meaning if you don't get it on the second one, you're gonna have to restart the first one again. Made even more boring by the fact that sometimes the bunnies go into the VIP room, which you have to spend Robux to get. A lot of this was just walking around and pressing a proximity prompt simulator. I mean, at least it was better than having the bunnies be stationary and randomly spawning. 4 out of 10. I wish it could have just been some hunt-themed event theme, kinda. And here we are at the hub again, with only 25 games remaining. It seems I've moved much further up the leaderboards, with me now being 16th place in the entire event! However, I'm probably not going to keep that leaderboard position. It was 3 AM at the time, and I needed to go to sleep badly. Let's talk a bit more before going into the final 25, however. My points that I've made earlier have only been solidified. All of the events just feel rushed. To live up to the standards of having a massive event for your game with tons of eyes on you in only 3 weeks is just not enough time. Give your developers at least like a 3 months notice to make actually something worthwhile. And maybe to prevent the problem of being overwhelmed, you should limit the amount of games that can join. I would definitely like this whole thing more if we only had to do 30, but all of the quests were 3 times longer. The event probably would have been much better, and I wouldn't have given out so many low ratings if it weren't for the fact that they were only given such little time to do so. We're almost done, however. We just gotta get through a few more, and then we can finally put this event to rest. Let's do this. Bring it on! Bed Wars had a good event, although it did feel a little bit short for what you had to do for the badge. They made an entire new game mode, Egg Hunt. Your mission is to grab eggs around the map, then bring them back to your base without dying, although you also get a speed boost that you can pick up. It can be a bit annoying when someone you're trying to kill gets a speed boost or the other way round. However, you don't need to win, you just need to bring 15 back to your base. It was pretty good, although I wish it could have been longer, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7 out of 10. Oh great, another pay-to-win cash grab game. The core blocks map, which you need for the hunt, only spawns 1 out of 8 times! Apparently you just randomly go back in time too, so it's just taking the prompts that Roblox gave them and rolling with it in a kind of lazy way. The decoration is lackluster, you can revive anytime you want for Robux, it takes a while to even get to the event in the first place. The only good thing is that it was ever so slightly fun. That's the only credit I'm giving this game. 2 out of 10. Not good at all. Lumber Tycoon 2 is more of a walking simulator than anything. Go to the cave, chop down a tree, get the egg, and go. No statistics, no nothing. Just get the egg, leave, and you're done. 3 out of 10. Meh. Ultimate Football literally just let you server hop to servers that almost had quarters done. Otherwise, they take stupidly long amounts of time. The game looked well designed, however, forcing a player to do multiple quarters of a match, unless you just server hop, is just very bad considering how you can skip the entire thing. I'm also giving this one a 3 out of 10 considering how much of an oversight from the developers this was. Arsenal tried really hard for their quest, and it paid off. This one has you go on an entire adventure to breach a facility, to bring down a helicopter, and to foil some bad guys' plans. This is one of the best ones in the event. It was still a shooter game, which I'm not really good at, but that's okay, because I don't need to be good at things in order for me to rate them high. It took me a few attempts, but I can obviously see the amount of effort here, which is why I am happy to give this game a 9 out of 10. Greenville was a slog to get through. You had to go ahead and go to these waypoints, except every time you click the Find Waypoint button, it only spawns for a few seconds. Plus, it took me 20 minutes to get all of this done. Not to mention I frequently crashed my car and stuff. Do they really expect you to find all of this without waypoints? I would have enjoyed this more if the map wasn't so spaced out and it took you so long to get to places. The whole thing would have been a lot better if it wasn't as spaced out, so I'm giving this a free 10. At least it has mini-games. Anime Dimensions looked good, but just the quest was lazy. All you had to do was complete 2 dimensions by any means necessary, whether it be through carrying or by doing it yourself. At level 1, the enemies are just stupidly overpowered for you, even at the first level. Then again, there is no punishment for dying. However, there is a time limit that you have to get through. The time limit is extremely forgiving, so don't worry too much about that. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10 considering how they really didn't even try with making a unique thing for the hunt. Creatures of Sonaria was a survival game where you had to do a few tasks in a few different worlds and basically just survive and hope to not. Without grow tokens, growing a creature can take upwards of 20 or more minutes, so I'm giving this a 3 out of 10 just for the fact that you have to wait for so long, basically doing nothing and hoping you survive. Undead Defense Tycoon is literally just grab a gun and shoot zombies in the woods simulator. Not much else to say other than it's also a tycoon and that yellow zombies spawn more regular egg zombies. 5 out of 10, the whole thing was just fine enough. Football Fusion 2's quest literally took less than a minute. All you gotta do is attempt to catch and make a tackle. 2 out of 10, you barely made me do anything. Alright campers, your challenge is the hunt. Your task is to complete 95 Roblox games. The winning team will receive golden crowns for each team member, while the losing teams will be sending someone home tonight. Total Roblox Drama is more of a social manipulation game than a challenge game. Your only goal is to convince your other team members not to vote you off. That requires being as nice as possible and finding a very valid reason to vote someone else off. With that same reason, convincing everyone else on your team that you were in the right. Convincing that you are such a good team member that people would sacrifice themselves so that you would stay in the game. I was on a team that got down to 2 people before the merge, so I really had to apply this tactic. Nevertheless, I survived. This was actually a really fun thing to do, but it was kind of lazy considering how there was no unique thing for the hunt, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Project Smash is just wait 5 minutes for an egg to spawn, and only 1 person can get it per server. The good news is that you can also do this in private servers, so it isn't as bad, but it's still 5 minutes of waiting. Getting some kills would probably be nice, since it's a fighting game, but no, you just had to make it so that an egg spawns. 2 out of 10, like, at least do something slightly different. Red Cliff City is just an essentially worse version of the Brookhaven quest. You have to collect 4 different parts of like an emblem kind of thing, except they provide waypoints to all 4 of them, so it's incredibly boring because you know where you need to go. And while sure, in the past I've criticized these types of games for not having waypoints, this kind of map is so condensed that at this point I just rather have a bunch of eggs everywhere instead of having 4 preset location eggs at specific locations. Waypoints would make sense if there were more, but there are only just 4 of them. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. I mean, like, it just doesn't feel too good to me. Super League Soccer just had you play 2 matches. You don't have to win them, you just have to play in 2. Technically, you could just AFK till it's over, but number 1, people would get mad at you, and number 2, it's just funner to actually play the game. It's actually a pretty fleshed out Roblox soccer game, which I like, and yes, I did win both times. And while I did have kind of fun with the game, it just felt a bit bland with the quest. Just the generic do 2 matches kind of stuff, wasn't really anything too interesting. I'm giving it the 1 point fun pity point, so I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Combat Warriors is so graphic that I'm gonna have to heavily censor this clip for YouTube so that I don't get stricken down by the demonetization gods. But this is a gory fighting game. Not too gory, but still I don't want to risk it. Your goal is to get 150 points, 2 for kills, 1 for assists. Once you're done, you complete a short obby, and then you get the badge. Now, I liked the combat in this game, however 150 points, which is like 2 per kill, is a bit too much considering how you constantly die. If it was maybe like 60 points, I would have enjoyed it better, however it just feels a bit too stretched out. I still kinda like it though, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Nah, I'm kidding, I'm gonna review this one too even though I skipped it. I mean, the quest looks nice with like the contrast between the retro players and the normal players. However, at the same time, it's just kill 11 Roblox players that look retro with other people specifically maybe being able to steal kills, I'm unsure. Either way, the game looks pretty cool and the ending animation looks kinda nice, so I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I mean, not from my experience, I'm just guessing here, but good job. And after 26 hours, we are now only 9 badges away from finishing the hunt. I'm not gonna give a recap of my opinions, I'll just save all of them until the end, but just know that all of my past opinions still stand about this. 1 hour into the video, we're finally going to end things right here, right now. It's time for the final stretch. 3008 is a game about exploring an abandoned IKEA, or I don't know, a haunted IKEA, whatever, and surviving against the anomalous entities that plague the building. Your specific task here is to complete 3 randomly generated tasks. I luckily got good ones, so I didn't have to suffer too much, but I heard that others got really bad ones. This game was pretty boring while waiting for daytime to come to claim the rewards, so I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10 for laziness for only having just random objectives. Obby, but you're on a bikes quest sucks so badly! Not only do you have to complete World 1 in under 13 minutes, win a race, and complete World 4, all of which takes around 45 minutes in total. You don't even have to do the first 2 I mentioned, because you can just skip right to the 3rd one and get it for free! That is, if you can even do that, because the game is so pay to win that you can't even do the first 2 without spending Robux! The footage is at like 70 times speed! 1 out of 10, I hate all of the developers who worked on this garbage. Hide and seek is the most boring gameplay ever conceived. All you have to do is pick a hiding place and pray that the seeker doesn't find you. Because if the seeker does find you, then you won't progress towards winning this badge. 3 out of 10, it takes 7 minutes for 1 round with 1 seeker. Deadly Decisions is a quote-unquote horror-based quiz game. It's a 50-50 chance to get the hunt game mode or not, too. If you don't know the answer, just go with what the majority picks, but don't take too long, because if you take too long, then you die. The questions were fine, but other than that, it's just a pretty generic quiz game. 5 out of 10, not that good, not that bad. Swordburst 3 just feels exactly the same as World 0, so I'm not even going to bother trying to give it a detailed explanation, and just give it the exact same rating I gave World 0, which is a 4 out of 10. Steep Steps was regarded as one of the hardest ones in this entire event. Being a rage physics-based ladder climbing platformer, your goal is to reach 100 meters to collect all of the items. Unfortunately, dropping your ladder to the floor means you gotta pay Robux to get it back or restart. Luckily, if it falls in the void, you can just get it back. I've heard that other people can grief you, however the partner that I had was pretty friendly and decided to help me out until the end, which was how I got this badge. 7 out of 10. It was challenging but fair. The survival game was fine. It was kind of like Minecraft but different. Once you get like the 2nd tier of a weapon, you could just go to the tyrant guy and fight him. Once you do, you get the badge. The game does what it's supposed to and it's fine enough, so I'll go ahead and give it a 5 out of 10 for trying. Emergency Hamburg was, if you did so much as get hit by a car, you are incapacitated for 3 minutes. Your goal is to complete a truck delivery with a yellow difficulty or higher. I did not know this and completed a green difficulty and did not get it. It's not much, all you gotta do is just go to specific locations. I like the atmosphere, so it's fine, 5 out of 10. Before we go over the final game, let's go over the ones I skipped. I skipped Piggy because I knew that all of Piggy's quests were unnecessarily complex. This one looks quite complex, but I heard that it's fine if people have already completed most of it by the time you get in the server. I actually think this is something really cool, so I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I skipped the Mimic because it just felt like a horror simulator. Each egg gives around like 10 gold and you need 100 eggs in total in order to actually get the badge. Plus, I don't really like horror games and there's a big scary monster chasing you. It just felt long, scary, and unnecessarily tense, so I skipped it. It does look cool though, so in pity, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I know that these developers did well. I skipped slap battles because the quest needed to do it was stupidly long and hard. It took my friend an hour and 20 minutes. Did I mention that literally anyone can screw you over when you're trying to do the quest in this mode? Yeah, not really fun. I give it a 4 out of 10 due to you literally not being able to prevent people from griefing you, because I'm unsure if you can do it in private servers. Shindo Life looked fine, however it was stupidly hard to find all the eggs and nobody in my server could do it, so I just left and skipped it because I just didn't know if it was good or not. The map looks kinda cool though, and the enemy is unique with it actually having voice lines, so I'm going ahead and give it a 5 out of 10 because of that. I skipped a wolf or other because I thought it was a long, drawn-out social deduction game, not to mention that only one egg could spawn per match, and I thought that, like, you know, I had to survive all that time with the egg in hand. One egg still spawned per match, and I didn't want to have to go find through private servers just to go ahead and try and get the egg, so I skipped it. It looks fine enough though, so I'm going ahead and give it a 5 out of 10. And now for one last game. You are presented with 5 riddles in Murderers vs. Sheriff's Duel, each one having their own requirement to unlock. After winning a 1v1, a 2v2, finding a trophy from someone's body, finding another trophy in the map, and winning a match, we can finally end our adventure. Oh yeah, by the way, I give it a 6 out of 10 because it was pretty decent. After so many trials and so many tribulations, we can finally claim our crowns. And it looks absolutely sick! Before we end off the video, and by extension the season, I'd like to give a few remarks about the hunt as a whole. This event is an experiment. It always has been, and it always will be. This is simply Roblox's first step into a brand new line of events that will shape Roblox forever. However, this version of the hunt wasn't very well thought out. All of the developers were given barely any time to create something, and most of them flat out couldn't create anything unique at all. It's sad to me how a bunch of developers get one shot at this and they can't prove themselves and everyone thinks the game itself is just bad. Because I know that every single person who participates in this wants to be successful and wants to make a good product. Well, most of them. But along the way, everyone learns something. Roblox learned that you might not want to put so many games in one event. And everyone learned more stuff about coding, more stuff about design, more stuff about everything. They even got a brand new player base with some players choosing to stick around and maybe even give them more players to come. Everyone wins! What I'm trying to say is, maybe the hunt wasn't such a failure after all. Despite all the torture everyone went through to get those crowns, all of it was worth it in the end. I myself have been bored out of my mind with simulators for the past few months, and to finally get something new was so refreshing to me. In my opinion, the hunt isn't a failure. It's a learning experience. 2 weeks of fun they said would happen, and 2 weeks of fun I got. Well, really just one extended day. But after all of that, everything, I'm tired. I've spent so long on this event, so long making this video, that I just want to take a nap, I guess. Before I go, however, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for watching Starism Season 1. It was a pleasure to make every single video and to make every single one of you smile. But I have more projects besides YouTube. I have Starcade, I have other things that I want to do. I have a life. But I'm still proud to have YouTube as my hobby. So for one more time this season, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time!